On your election headquarters, our continued coverage of this election season. We are awaiting now the declaration of the official results by the Electoral Commission at 4:30. We're going to be live there for you pretty shortly. The live visuals will come in, and as you see, the table is being set for the chairperson of the Electoral Commission to do that official declaration. Shortly thereafter, we are also live for you from the residence of the President-elect, John Dramani Mahama, who we're bringing us. We understand that he will be speaking. He's already spoken to the defeated candidate, the vice president. We're also going to be live from the residence of the vice president, where we understand there could also be another press conference. We are also going to be live from the NDC's headquarters. They just addressed a news conference. We'll be there for you to get you clarity on what is happening there. But we are also live from the EC's regional collation center here at Ridge, where it has been a center of some tense moments between NDC supporters and the police. They are demanding that some constituencies in the Greater Accra region are declared. One of them is Dom Kwabenya, one that we found pretty baffling because it was during the time that we were on air overnight when we witnessed the official declaration of the Dom Kwabenya results, giving Alec Blim, the NDC candidate, a significant win there. I mean, it was 50,000 Mike Okwe, 51,000 Alec Blim. I remember this very well. We did analysis of it. We woke up this morning only to learn that it is now contested. And that is something that, again, you see there in your shot, the top right corner. That's the live feed from the regional EC office here at Ridge, where the NDC supporters are. There's a massive deployment of police. Police helicopter is flying above, making sure that everything is watched and violence is averted. And we're going to be live also from the EC headquarters, which is what you see there in your shot right there at the bottom left corner. And then you see the smart wall, which looks very, very green indeed across the country. There are a few places we'll be going and getting some reactions for you, particularly in the Ashanti region. And I'm talking about a place like Adanse Asokwa that nobody could ever have dreamt that the NDC would take. They have taken, but it is contested now. Katie Hammond will join us. But in the studio with me right now is Winston Amoah, Raymond Acquah, and guess who else is joining me for a conversation is the head of the Political Science Department at the University of Ghana, Professor Alidu. Prof, thanks for the time here on election headquarters. Great to have you join us. I guess I need to start with you. I mean, as a political scientist, there's a lot that you can project, estimate, expect. Did you ever dream that a day will come after elections when the electoral map of this country will be so dramatically redrawn by one party?
Not at all. I think almost all the polls that I'm privy to, and even some of them I participated in them, we never anticipated something like this. So I think the results of the 2024 elections, both presidential and parliamentary, has defied all poll predictions, defied all the methodologies that we have used. And I think it's not an isolated case. If you look at the global polling and then elections that we've had this year, it's almost the same. If you look at the case of the US, if you look at the case of Great Britain, and even to some extent France, you tend to see that the actual voting outcome is quite different from the way it was predicted in the poll. So I think, I'm not sure whether we did something wrong or basically the people are so angry that they thought that they will have to come out and vote the way they voted. And I even suspect that maybe even the NDC knew they were going to win, but not the way they have won. So largely, it follows the sentiment of the moment and the typical anti-incumbency surge that is moving around the world in all the elections that we've had. So usually when the people are angry, they come out in a way that they just want to clear every remnant of the regime that is in power. So this has actually defied all our predictions.
Now, it has indeed defied that. And one of the places we're going pretty shortly, talking to Katie Hammond, who we understand is contesting the outcome of the results in this area. We'll go there pretty shortly with a smart wall. But Raymond and Winston, we were here overnight. We left here around just after 2 a.m. And we knew at the time that that green wave is going to be continuing. Waking up this morning, I'm still seeing a bit more surprise as the results still come in. Raymond?
Yes, and Surprise is an understatement of what's supposed to be happening on the ground. Maybe, and a member of parliament early this morning was telling me that maybe we are underestimated the level of anger in the system and the quest for change. We saw 2016, people were very angry too. They voted for change, but that was around 53%. In fact, you can even give it the highest to say 54% of the estimates that you could see in this country. In 2016, the parliamentary structure was not this way. Now, look at our collation. We've done 227 out of 276, 165 of them seats going to the NDC. And guess what? NPP still is roving around 62, not even 100. This is how terrible the situation is today. This is from a system where we are 137 for each of these political parties, and we're not sure whether the independent formula would really solve the problem for us in the future. This is perhaps the most catastrophic election results I have seen in the last almost 20 years. And it is showing a percentage that can be, if not more than, may even exceed that of Jerry Rawlings. Now, I've said that no Ghanaian election has had a winning candidate go into 60%. But I am scared. I'm not sure the way things are going.
JM is at 57.
57.
Is at 57.1%. He may just end at 58.
So that is how devastating this is supposed.
That's Rawlings level performance.
Yes, that is, and let's not get it wrong. That is Rawlings at a time that many people really were not sure whether we were even open for elections. No. At the time that we were using opaque ballot boxes. You call it a tumusum.
That is Rawlings at a time when you can vote in a constituency. Your general asking where you voted, you got 0.
The entire family voted.
You're giving 10.
Yeah.
In fact, the police station is Jack and Jill. Yeah. Yes. So, I mean, in all fairness, this is perhaps the most catastrophic going back to the Rawlings period. But there should be reasons for it. We every day talk about how Ghanaians are angry sometimes, and you know it's displayed, right? Sometimes they'll say it's only in Greater Accra. Those of you in Accra, your wants and your needs are many. You see things differently. But the results we are seeing are not representative of a certain Accra sentiment across the country, even in the Ashanti region. When somebody purported they could get up to 10 seats in the Ashanti region for the NDC, I scoffed at it. I said it was completely...
What's somebody? Who is that somebody?
You're very good, sir.
Why are you referring to the man as somebody?
No, I'm saying that, I mean, I felt it was almost impossible for that to happen because history backs my view on the matter.
Yeah, yeah.
Then, now I'm seeing things that I'm not sure, so I have to come and check again to see, are they from certified results?
Yeah.
This is becoming a dangerous trend. Okay. And if you are in the NPP now, you are not even sure at what point to start your review. Whether you are waiting for all the results to come in, whether you are waiting to go and announce that there's a problem. And again, there's also something certainly happening. These take position and those ones, please, these are 14th century behavior.
Yeah, but...
they should desist from it. I mean, listen, it's...
As in what is happening at the Electoral Commission centers.
I know you are excited, but don't water down your victory by engaging in these acts.
And you can hear the helicopter just above us right now because the EC's regional office is very close. The police now is trying to now calm tensions.
I've seen.
You know why it's so unnecessary?
I've seen the Acquah statement.
Yeah.
They are applauding Ghana. They are impressed with the standards we have displayed. Let's continue being that oasis of peace, and let's continue being that country that shows everybody how it's done.
Yeah, I mean, Evans, I'll come back to where Raymond ended, but this is it. Of course, the results has shocked everybody. There was anger in 2016, but the anger in 2024 is more than 2016. Yes, there was anger beg your pardon, in 2016, and we are waking up to realize that even the places that you ordinarily would have expected to vote for the NPP did not. But why they did not vote for the NPP? You see, when over the period, and I have said here before, that COVID-19 just saved the NPP in 2020. Sure. Because a trend was emerging. And because of COVID-19, they painted a picture of a struggling nation.
Okay.
And they trying to, save that nation.
Yeah, I'm going to have to pause you, and I'll come back to Prof pretty short, but I need to walk to the smart wall because we have somebody on the line that we need to speak to. And that individual is in this area here that we are watching very closely. You see the green beginning to fill up in that. This is the Shanti region, by the way, fill up. And this area here is one of the biggest surprises of the entire elections at Dancy Asokwa, where as we have it right now, Katie Hammond has lost it with 13,275 votes. That's against the NDC's Godwin, who has 14,229 votes. This is one of those major surprises when I woke up and I saw it. Gentlemen, I have Katie Hammond on the line. Mr. Hammond, thank you for your time here on election headquarters. We see the results here as declared by the Electoral Commission. You accept that you've lost this?
Is that Evans?
Yes.
I'm not sure if it is concluded at our end here. Let's watch the space for some more development. I officially complained at the collation center that considering all that I was observing, I needed a recount. I followed it up with a formal complaint. The returning officer said that she had to confer with Kumasi. He came back to say that Kumasi had said that if she had the pink sheet, she should go ahead and declare. My argument was that I hadn't even seen some of the pink sheets. Some of the pink sheets that have come to my attention are not quite pink. They're actually white. I know some ballot boxes cannot be accounted for. I know I have an entitlement under the law for a recount. That's all been refused so far. I told the returning officer if that was the case and they were not going to heed to my call, I wasn't going to be part of the collation. Of course, I observed that there was a lot of tension. I wasn't going to aggravate the situation by adding to what was going on. I decided to take my officers home and decided to have a look at how I intend to proceed. So when it gets to matters in respect of Dancy Asokwa, that's how it has gone. But Evans, you rightly made a point. For once, Dancy Asokwa wasn't even a topic in the discussions within the media because we thought that, this wouldn't have been one of our most difficult elections. I mean, infrastructure, well, we didn't think we had any problem yet. Somehow, last time around 24 years ago, we had close to 19,000, 18,000, whatever. So with the addition of the extra voters, we were contemplating the figure of about 20,000. What we have said is that we have 15,000. And it's not like our followers actually voted for NDC. NDC hovers around the figure they had, 13, 14. That is all they have had. But ours, 8,000, 19,000. What we have is 13,000, the figure you have just mentioned. They were just all over the place. We will put that day, but it will pump a lot of money into development in this community. Individuals, hey, I went out and told them, look, you don't come out there to vote. The NDCs, with whatever numbers they have, will come out and vote, and it will be catastrophic. That's what we are seeing. Maybe it's anger, whatever it is. Yes, you're right. You would wake up, Evans, and be shocked. Are
you shocked? Are you shocked yourself?
Well, you see, from what the guys were doing, the certain places I went to, and what I knew of the places. In fact, there were places that I had done so much that when I went around campaigning, they said that I now think that there was irony in what they said. And they didn't vote. NDC won, but those people didn't vote for the NDCs, but they didn't vote for us either.
Let me ask you, though, on the subject of the recount, what is it precisely that got you to ask for the recount?
I'm just worried that the ballot papers themselves may not accurately represent what you find on the pink sheet, the so-called pink sheet. Because as I've told you, the pink sheets are supposed to be pink at the back, white in the front. some of the papers that masquerade as pink sheets are really white at the back, white in the front.
But the pink sheets come from the polling stations. Did the NPP agents sign these that you are referring to?
Well, I've seen a few with some funny things that look like signatures, others which don't look like signatures. So I think I have the right for a recount. Let's see what are in the boxes, and then we can conclude this matter. They refused it. We didn't have it, and they've given that declaration that you have. I think, give and take, we're looking at a difference of about 700 or so. When we should be looking at our majority of close to 8,000. Our friends simply didn't come out to vote, and I see that it's all over the country.
Yeah, okay, so and that is the point, right? It is all over the country. You've just talked about the challenge where you are. Does that then suggest that this is some, I know you've asked for a recount, will you then accept the outcome, putting it in the national context?
Oh, no. After the recount, if after the recount they represent what are on the pink sheet, then of course, yes, you've got to accept it, isn't it?
But because it's already been declared, would you still get a recount?
Some of us are lawyers. You don't declare an illegality. That's nothing. No, that's no declaration at all. You may have declared it at this level. You would have declared that A, B, C, D. But if I'm entitled to A, B, and you don't allow me, you are depriving of my rights. Is it also?
Okay, so what do you do now? It's been declared, it's official for us, it's been sent to the Electoral Commission, HQ in
but
Accra.
that's not the end of the matter, is it?
Well, but you have recourse to take some action. What would you do?
Absolutely, but I've told you, so I'm reviewing my options.
Okay, but you haven't...
I want to allow illegal figures to be put out there. Look at how they are crashing. Have you seen the violence taking place in the country?
Yeah, I mean, there are concerns in many parts of the country. But let's stay with Adansi Asokwa.
You're underestimating it. You're calling it concerns.
Well, I've seen the scenes of chaos in places. Yeah. We've seen the vandalism in some areas. But in Adansi Asokwa, though, I want to pick your thought about something
they came to my house. They masked up. They came to my house. I went up to them, and they left.
And they left, okay.
We haven't had, we don't have bad relationships at all. You recall that you saw whatever it was, they said the KTI had joined the NDC or something, India Fruit. They all came to my house. I actually went out there and gave them money. I gave them money. And some of them were fighting. I went back to separate them on my own money that I'd given them. They were fighting. So we have good relationship. So I didn't expect that if they had won and taken the seat, some of them should exhibit that kind of foolishness towards me. But they came up yesterday. I was told in the house that they were throwing water, sachet of water or something. I went out there, and I think they were told to leave, and eventually they left. So we are comfortable. I've been told by my district chief executive that they had told him that they will be coming to his house. If he has plates and he has the spoons, he should get ready. They're coming to take over. The drip, he should hand over, and all sorts of things. They're making all sorts of threatening statements. So far, we are peaceful. We are here. I haven't left. I'm here.
You've said that your supporters in Adansi Asokwa did not vote. They didn't go to the polls at all. And then there was apathy. What do you think accounted for this? Because you're seeing this all over the place.
No, you can't complain that I haven't developed the place. You cannot say that. I mean, I don't know whether you have been to this place or not.
No, I haven't been.
24 years, everything that you see in any community is attributable to me and the NPP. So I can't explain it.
But you must have some inkling of what, if you have development there.
The inkling is what I've told you. The little money that I have, look, I've done this. I've gone to this community. They said they want to do this. I've done this. Where are we going to get the money to give you? In any event, we're talking about thousands. And how do we do it? In some cases, I've heard my other colleagues have told me, my own constituency, my colleagues around have said things like, some of them have been saying that the delegates receive monies all over the place, so they should give them equal amounts and all of that. It really didn't make much. I didn't know how we were going to handle that. But the mom is okay, I got out from my vehicle many occasions to plead with them. I mean, there's roads and everything. Infrastructure, Asokwa can't say that we are Kumasi or Accra or anything. But Asokwa is fairly developed. AstroTurf, whatever. So I don't know. I mean, I can't look into the crystal ball. They want specific. Something like that.
What about the assessment? What about the assessment that the voters in your constituency punished you because of the general shambolic economic mismanagement that your government is guilty of?
You see, it's relative. This argument is relative. The white, blue-collar workers in Accra, Kumasi might be saying something quite different from what we in our rural areas we experience. We don't have the same conditions as you experience in those cities. So I don't know. Economic unemployment, of course, it's widespread. The whole country, we have difficulties with employment, or non-unemployment or employment. But I mean, those who the artisans and others, a lot of them, have something to do. I mean, girls with experiences in the what do you call them? Tailors, and there have been interventions. There have been several government interventions to ease their difficulties. But ultimately, the farmers will help them quite a lot. Women, traders, small, the SMEs. We've done many interventions. I genuinely feel that whatever difficulties the white and the blue color workers must have experienced in the cities, we haven't experienced them in our rural communities. There's bonds, and I am in Accra. I don't quite understand this business of bonds and all the haircut, hair shave, and all that. I don't understand. They don't quite really apply in our communities here. So Evans, it's a difficult. It's a conundrum. We're not so sure what is it that has happened. But I hear our guys who manage it a little less than 80. Is that right? I really haven't come to grips with that. But it's a complete disaster. Maybe that's what the NPP want. I probably will be thinking that, well, we should begin to be suggesting to the NPP that, okay, give the country to the NDC to run until the NPP tell us that they are happy to vote for us. Well, remember, 2008, President Kufuor did all he could for, you remember, all the interventions. Yet, Kumasi, Washington, Reagan, all over, Yanto, look at what happened. For that occasion, at least we had the chance to go in for a real run, and then thereafter, the rest is history. On this occasion, Ashanti Reagan, we were hoping to get about 80%. 80%. We worked very hard. I mean, what message did the NDC give us? But we worked very hard, and yet, they're not happy.
Yeah,
we're putting our best. There have been attendant difficulties. The nation accepted.
And you say, and you use the word there, and I think you're the first senior member of the party to have described it as such. It has been a disaster. In your constituency, you're not willing yet to concede defeat.
Well,
No. Okay. But the only basis for your refusal at this moment to concede defeat, as I've heard you articulate, is that the pink sheet colours were different from what you are used to.
Not simply that, but they have also been stolen, scratch ballot boxes. We don't have some ballot boxes. I don't know the basis on what they came to those figures. They can't find the ballot boxes. Okay.
But what does that mean, though, before you take leave of us, for Katie Hammond?
You can deduce from that what I mean.
Yeah, I mean,
yes, a little bit premature.
If just a second, if the wave that we've seen is anything to go by as an indicator, even after the recount, you can reasonably infer and conclude that you will certainly still lose the seat.
You can't make that conclusion.
I cannot, even when you've described it as a disaster.
No, disaster. Disaster. We're talking about a margin of about 700. Disaster in terms of 19,000 to 13,000.
Yeah.
19,000 and the addition of whatever vote we would have had. Anticipated 20,000. Okay, that isn't materialized. What about our figures from 18,000 whatever to 19, and then we end up with 13,000, and the balance does not go to NDC in any respect. It just sits in a base. It's the point.
Okay. Mr. Hammond, thank you very much. Thank you very much. His line is not holding, but I'm grateful that he joined us. At least he says he's not conceding yet. He's asked for a recount. He's not been giving. It's been declared. And this, what you have on your screen, is what the EC declared, signed, and has now been put in the system, which you have here. And he concedes that the agent signed it. He's questioning whether they are actually the signatures. But as it is, this is the result. He says he will consider his options. He hasn't settled on one yet. But that is Adanse Asokwa for you. My colleagues will weigh in pretty shortly in an area which is overwhelmingly blue, and he himself makes the point. We'll look at the dynamics and the specifics, but I still have a lot more coming in from across the country. James Aveji is currently at the EC's regional office. He's managed to gain access into the inner perimeter, and he's talking to James. He's talking to one of the NDC's legal officers, Mr. Daudu, who is there representing the NDC on the matter of the outstanding constituencies in Greater Accra. Let's listen in.
But what has been done, they have seen it, it is clear. And you could see our colleagues from the NPP, they themselves, they have seen, they don't have the pink sheet.
Okay.
It is
so for now, you're waiting for the EC to come and do the declaration?
I think that's where the agitation is, that we've been here all this time. You have seen it. You say you want to consult, and she's not coming out to consult. She's not coming out to declare. That's the issue.
Okay, so Evans, if you can hear me, we've just gained access to the Regional Coalition Center, where we just came in here to meet some pushing and pulling among some of the party supporters, trying to get to know what the issue is. And they've been telling me that they are growing more anxious as the regional returning officer is taking. I've come across Mr. Edwige Tamaklo, council, one of the council of the NDC, to know what exactly the issue is. Council, we've just walked into some sort of agitation. What's happening?
We are telling the Electoral Commission regional boss that she should just declare the result. Look, Okankwe Central, we have the full complement of our pink sheet, and we have won. We have beaten Patrick Buama. But you see, for the first time, the special prosecutor must prosecute Electoral Commission presiding officers. What Mensah did was that she printed the statement of poll and placed a yellow card under. So what they did was that they had the original with duplicate given to all the political party reps. Immediately, what the presiding officer did was that they took the duplicate and refilled different original and gave it to the NPP. So you notice that the NPP do not have the duplicate of the initial original. The Electoral Commission presiding officers then created new original copies, now in ink. How can a duplicate be in ink? So clearly this is an orchestration by the Electoral Commission presiding officers in those polling stations. And I am calling the special prosecutor, Kisie Jabe, to immediately commence investigation in those affected polling stations in Okankwe Central and bring those presiding officers to book. For the first time, Electoral Commission officials might go to prison, so they'll know that they cannot subvert the will of the people. Ghanaians in Okankwe Central voted overwhelmingly for Baba Sadiq. And the NPP parliamentary candidate, MP now, Patrick Buama, is conniving. It's conniving. And that is the issue. And we will not permit it. We have called the returning officer for Okankwe Central.
I am in there. I've seen Honorable Samuel Kujetu Ablakwa trying to, not Samuel Kujetu Ablakwa actually, one member of the party trying to calm another person, leading into another form of agitation. There's been one agitation, one chaos after the other, right here at the Regional Coalition Center of the Electoral Commission. I've seen Honorable Alfred Agbeshi Oyome also in the midst of the people trying to calm tension in there. What the party officials have been saying is that they are growing quite anxious. We want the EC to declare. Let's get closer and hear what the issue really is on what they are talking about.
The officer needs to do that. Give us about 5 minutes to sort out all of that paperwork. Yes. The NPP reps here agree with us that when you have more than 2/3 of polling stations, there are 141 polling stations. There are 31 of them with questions. So you have 110 fully declared. That is more than 75%. So they will proceed and declare. But let us, he will collect the 110 and declare on the basis of that. Let's give 10 minutes for that process. 10 minutes. Let's give 10 minutes.
And so you heard that Sam George trying to give some information to. Let me try and see if I can have a word with Sam George on that, on whether this 110 parties or it's about the 2 constituency or it's only about 1.
It will be declared based on 110 police. Yeah, he's the one.
Mr. Let me stay with you. We know that there are 2 constituencies involved in all of this. Which one are you
talking about? Okakwe Central. That is where we are going to declare 110 police stations out of the 140 something. Is it 41? The 30 something police stations cannot be found. So the 110, that is more than 70%, and we will declare the results.
So the 2 parties, the NDC and the NPP, have agreed to this?
Based on that, yes. That is the understanding. The law also says that once you are able to collect more than 70% or 70%, you can declare. Yeah. Yes.
What happened to the Ablekuma constituency, which is also involved?
Ablekuma is waiting to... we want to deal with this and then move to Ablekuma. Yes.
And so that's the agreement. You have the assurance that in 10 minutes the EC officer will come to declare that.
That's so. That's so.
Thank you.
Don't forget that also the coalition sheet was also destroyed, and so they are going to take a new coalition sheet and do the entries.
Okay, Evans. So that's the agreement there between the 2 major political parties. I've seen Peter McMenu from the NPP around. Let me see from him if they've also agreed on what has been discussed. Honorable, good to see you. I mean, the communication we just had from the EC as well as the NDC is that both parties have agreed in the case of Okaikwe Central that the 110 polling stations you have now, which is about 70%, should be collated and declared devoid of the other 30. Is that the agreement?
Oh, I'm not aware of this. I am not in charge here. This is purely constituency matters. So I have also come to observe what is going on here. So I'm not privy to this information you are giving me.
Significantly, the decision lies with the EC. So our opinion doesn't matter.
But as an observer for your party, if this communication gets to you, is this something you would agree?
Do you know what's going on here? You yourself. Do you know what's going on?
The information we have is that there has been a chaos, some result from the polling stations, about 30 of them. There is an agreement for a recount and redeclaration of the result. What do you know? Tell us what.
It's supposed to be a collation room. You think this is the way to collect an election result? Come on. Come on. You don't collate under this chaotic situation. You need peaceful, serene atmosphere. Look at what's going on. Look. How can you collate figures in this environment? I have come to observe, so I'm observing.
But are you hearing anything from your constituency reps who are in part of the consultation?
Saying what is going on does not befit a collation status.
But if this chaos produces any result, what happens on your side?
Results. You have to calm the place and let agents only remain or people accredited. You are accredited. That's why you are here. Nobody can just walk in. Is that how to run an election? Oh.
So, Evans, the Honorable Peter McMahon disagreeing with, all of the chaos we have here. His appeal is that anyone who does not have accreditation should be sent out. Peace be restored here at the Regional Coalition Center before the entire process proceeds to provide any or produce any result. But from the NDC, the information they are giving, the assurance is that in about 10 minutes, the regional officer in charge of all of this recounting and declaration of the final result as far as Okaikwe Central is concerned, because that's what they have indicated to deal with. Remember, there is Ablikman North 2 in the midst, and so in about 10 minutes, as they have made us believe the final result for Okaikwe Central should be declared before they tackle the Ablikman issue. When I spoke to Alidu Tamekulu earlier and mentioned the Dom Kwabinya constituency issue to him, where the NPP parliamentary candidate, Honorable Michael Kwe Jr., is also demanding for recount, he is of the view that he needs to send the issue to court. So far as there has been declaration at the constituency level, the only avenue for him to demand for recount would be in the court. And so basically the NDC is disagreeing with the call for recount of the Dominic Kwabenya constituency result. They said they would only agree if it goes to court. So we'll wait for 5-10 minutes and see what the final result would be for Okaikwe Central.
That is the scenes there from the Electoral Commission regional office, and you can see there is still some measure of tension playing out there at the Coalition Center. And this is, gentlemen, I'll bring it in quickly because we have Kojo Ponkroma joining us pretty shortly. But this is something over. Dom Kwabenya is an interesting one. It was declared. Now there is an attempt to recollate the results, which is, again, very, very strange indeed. Okaikwe Central, is it? Where there's, again, some dispute over the outcome there that, again, needs to be resolved. And that is why we're seeing that tension. I'll come back to you, gentlemen, for comments on that. But also, we'll stay with that particular picture there as we await the EC official declaration of the national HQ. But you see Kojo Ponkroma in your short because he is one of those very few, very lucky. In fact, if you won and you're an NDC, you're an MPP parliamentary candidate and you won, you will be counted as very few lucky ones who actually scrape through this green wall that is sweeping across the country. In his case, he comes in winner, 18,601, 58.1% in Ofuasariabi. The NDC's candidate, Alfred Osei-Poku, comes in at 13,415, 41.9%. That is just half the story. Kwadwo Nkrumah drops in terms of actual votes from some 22,000 in the previous elections to 18,000 now. Kwadwo, this definitely is something that gladdens you nonetheless. A win is a win. Give me your quick reaction to this when you found the outcome, knowing what was happening across the country.
Well, so let me say good afternoon to your colleagues in the studio and to your audiences. We were tracking the polling station attendance from 7 a.m. every 30 minutes with our tracking system. And by midday, we had about 40% turnout. And it gave us reason to worry because looking at our target per polling station, it gave us reason to worry that, our numbers were not turning up to vote as much as we desired. And so we had to step up our sweeping system to ensure that we could encourage many of those who had gone to the farms or had gone elsewhere to come in and to cast their vote. I think at the end of it, we were hovering around 60% turnout. And as you then compare it to the averages in the region and across the country, we're pleased at the results that we had, albeit disappointed in the national performance of the New Patriotic Party and our candidates.
And indeed, for you in Ofuasariabi, and as I've just been indicating, if you go to 2020, the last time you were in an election there, you came in with 22,551 of the votes there. And this same gentleman who is now very close to you was at 12,000. He's increased his slightly by close to 1,000 votes. And you've dropped, I believe, just around 4,000 votes.
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah.
And you would find on the ground that there are about 4,000 party members who refused to vote, or there are about 4,000 sympathizers of our party who refused to vote. And they explained to us some of the reasons for which they were angry and refusing to vote. That kind of aligns with the story across the country. And what we have to do is to embrace the kind of feedback that they are giving us and go back to the ground and work with it.
I mean, and I just pulled up our trends map here just to give people an understanding of why this, you say, is concerning for you when you started tracking and you realize that people are not showing up to vote. And I must say, you are the best performing parliamentary candidate as far as percentage outcome, as far as the results are concerned in Ofuasariabi, in a place that we know is a stronghold of your party. You have come in with 64% at the last elections. Nobody else had come close to that. The last time this was the case, somebody close to that, was in 2004. So going into this, he had significant momentum, right? And Kwadwo, this must be something that must worry you, considering that elections is all about momentum. You drove a wall through this, and you came with 64.2% the last time. You could, at worst, hold this, but then to drop, something catastrophic must have happened.
The catastrophe is the wind of change, the green wave that's blowing across the country. And you'll find that many of my compatriots, right from the coast up north, were suffering major damages. And in the midst of those major damages, we still managed to hold our own and did over 5,000 vote margin. I've said over and over again that the people of Ghana have sent us a very strong message. What we need to do is to embrace that message and to work with it going forward.
Tell me, you said when you noticed that there may be apathy, it worried you. What do you think accounted for the apathy?
Well, the people told us quite clearly what is accounting for the apathy. There were people who were available in the towns, the villages, some even at the polling stations in my constituency and in other constituencies who told us clearly, we won't vote. We won't vote. Some, for example, will say, unless you give us money. Some will say we won't vote because we are angry. We won't vote because we are disappointed. And they explained what their issues were. Some of the issues that have led to this apathy or this level of apathy have to do with how we have managed our party and some of the processes that we've gone through in the party which leave the general party support base feeling angry. For example, when there are primaries and it's a small electoral college and there's a lot of incentives to delegates to vote for a particular candidate, it leaves the broader community angry. For example, there are those who told us that they were not pleased with the conduct of some senior government officials or some political actors, how we have carried ourselves about, at various instances. And they therefore sought to send us a message and to punish us for that. There are those who explain that the cost of living crisis is so severe. And though they hear the explanations about the why, they voted for us as a government to fix it. And they are not impressed with how much effort we have made in fixing it. And therefore, this is their verdict. And then there were those who told us that they were just, displeased about how we had handled major governance issues, like delivering on major projects or focusing on projects which they thought were totally unimportant, or responding to accusations of nepotism and corruption, etc. So they provided a lot of reasons. What we need to do is to embrace these reasons and to work with them to improve our management as a party and our governance the next time we have an opportunity to be in power.
And before the elections, though, many people watching said these sentiments that you're now articulating were very obvious. Everybody said you guys were heading for a catastrophe. But you speak to almost every government official, every spokesperson, all of you were in denial. You were spinning, we are going to turn this around. The economy was doing well. Ghanaians were quietly waiting for your other polls. You concede now that there was a lot of denial among your ranks, and that maybe led to this false sense of security, which now has been stripped off by the voter.
I think what transpired was the fact that the turnaround was not occasioned quickly enough. The administration acknowledged that there were difficulties and put out a number of measures to deal with some of these difficulties. And you began to see the turnaround numbers coming through in the latter part of the year 2024. But in the earlier part of the year and perhaps the year before, the pain had been so much that people had made up their minds. And therefore, no matter how things were turning around, getting to the election season or how projects were being finally completed, if you had major projects that you had not completed for a while and people had made up their mind to vote against you, completing them in the final weeks to the election and commissioning them may not necessarily change the minds of people because they had made up their minds already. Like I say, our job is not to argue with it or to rationalize it. Our job is to embrace it and to work with this feedback.
What do you think is the biggest lesson here?
Well, the political class has to listen a lot more to the Ghanaian public. The power rests with the people. They give us that power for 4 years, and they will hold you accountable at the end of the 4 years. And so the political class needs to listen a lot more. Today, I see a lot of our colleagues in the NDC very jubilant. And my caution to them is to listen a lot more to the people who employ us, the people who vote for us. Because in the end, it is how you deal with the issues that matter to them that determines your fate at the end of the day. I think also within the political parties, there needs to be the culture of internal disagreement some more, without those who disagree being treated as though they are, for want of a better expression, internal enemies. Because if you don't do that, you're going to have groupthink and everybody, singing one song that all is well until you are railroaded into a war. So there are a number of lessons here. These are a few that I'll pick up at this point.
And especially for you, you represent the new crop of leaders within the NPP. The future of the party rests with the likes of you, Winston Amoah, and the rest. You look at what is happening right now, even in the Ashanti region, the NDC is well on course to possibly get 10 seats there. Never happened. They've completely redefined the electoral map of Ghana. And the party will be left in shambles, maybe is even more charitable. What does that mean, though, for the future of the party? knowing where you are and what the potential consequences of this for your ability to recover, especially for people like yourself who represent the future?
I mean, I think that, like I've always said, the job is on the ground. The job is about being on the ground, listening and engaging with the people who have given you the mandate and attending to the issues that matter to them. If you want to build a state-of-the-art ICT center for them because you believe that it is important and it does this and it does that and it does that for them, and they say they don't want it, but they want X, Y, Z, listen to them. That is what they want and deliver for them. And I believe that whether it's about today the NPP being in a very diminished position or the NDC having what I'll call a supermajority in the next parliament, if you listen to the people on the ground and you act in a manner that meets their interest, they will renew your mandate because you are working for them. If you do not listen to them, regardless of your majority today or your minority today, they will not give you an opportunity to serve them. And so for the future of the NPP, for the future of the NDC, for the future of the political class and the democracy that we are running, the political class needs to listen a lot more.
Kojo Nkrumah, thank you very much. And I'm delighted that you joined us with your thoughts. A pretty honest conversation there on this. But that is the point, right? When the chips are down, a voter has spoken, you tend to get more honesty from politicians when they've lost. I mean, and I asked the question, lead up to this, you talk to any NPP official, it was as if honey was so pouring on people's tongues. But that wasn't the reality. We all knew this. And just before I come to Prof, I'll bring Prof in pretty shortly. And this, I pulled up, what you see on your screens is the presidential results in Ofuasi-Ayrebi, right? And the interesting thing you'll notice is that both Bawumia and Kojo Nkrumah all had 18,000 votes. If you go to 2020, Nanado was more popular than Nkrumah. He had 24,000 at the time, 24,000 votes at the time, right? So Bawumia actually suffered more now than even Nkrumah has. He's lost some 6,000 votes. He didn't even maintain it. So it's an interesting area because they're punishing Bawumia more than they're punishing the parliamentary candidate. Maybe because of his affiliation and his closeness to the president and etc. But Prof, weigh in on it for me. There's a very interesting outcome there. He held it, but he himself he knows something really went wrong.
I think it's largely due to the fact that the anger has to do with the top leadership of the party and how they have handled governance issues, how they have handled internal disagreement within the party, and the perceived micromanaging of state resources by just a very few group of people. So the ticket of Akufo-Addo goes with Bawumia, and they think that he's very close to him. And actually, he was his #1 campaigner, supporter, either openly or secretly, when it came to the party flag bearership position. So I think one of the best ways they can get to Akufo-Addo is to punish Bawumia, so that he'll know that maybe your association with him or your support for him, we didn't buy into it. Largely, the parliamentary candidates are more closer to the people than the presidential candidate. And mostly, the parliamentary candidates have to do a retail campaign for the presidential candidates. So you tend to see that maybe the MP is very close to the people, he listens to them, they can go into his house, he gives them money, he speaks to them directly than they can access Bawumia or what's the name? Nanado Akufo-Addo. So whatever it is, they are more close to the people, and the people can benefit a little bit from them, listening to their grievances, and then try to solve it, than the way they will be able to see candidate Bawumia. Candidate Bawumia, maybe, I'm not sure, once or twice, he might have visited the constituency to campaign, but maybe Nkrumah was always there compared to the presidency. But I think basically it is a serious expression of anger for what the top level has been doing, the way they have micromanaged the party, and the perceived marginalization of the benefits or spoils of electoral victory just being handled by a few group of people.
Prof, stay with me, all of you stay with me. I want to go back to live to my colleague Maxwell Agbagba, who I understand is standing by the residence of John Dramani Mahama. He's the president-elect, and that's Maxwell there. And Maxwell, I can see behind you some arranged chairs. And very quickly, because I also need to go to the Greater Accra Collation office of the EC, where you can see there the place has been called to attention. We're expecting some announcement pretty shortly. Maxwell, let's get a sense of what we can expect, look forward to on the back of the declaration by the Electoral Commission chairperson?
Yes, Evan, so we're coming to you live from the office of the President-elect John Mahama. Like you rightly mentioned, this is the platform, the days that has been set up here, and then you can see on that particular days is electing where the president-elect will be addressing the nation right after the declaration by the Electoral Commissioner, Mensah. Also on the days next to it, you can see the colored chairs there. Would have some top personalities also seated on those chairs over there. On the right-hand side also, the media is well positioned, ready for this. On that riser, you can see their tripods. Shortly, they'll be mounting their cameras. And then, right after the declaration, when the President-elect John Mahama walks in here, they'll be able to capture all of that for our viewers at home. But we're lucky to have with us the Director of Protocol and Logistics for the NDC, Ludwig Hlodge. He's going to tell us what to expect this evening, right after the declaration of the results. Ludwig, you're welcome to JoyNews.
Thank you very much, my brother.
Great. We see these colorful chairs on the days. We see the lectern there. We see all the preparations that you've made. Can you talk us through what to expect this evening, right after the declaration of the results?
Well, we're just waiting for the Electoral Commissioner to declare the final results. Once it's done, the convention is that the President-elect will accept the results and then come out with an outline of some of the things we'll be doing within the next few days. And so, as a country, we need to wait for the Electoral Commissioner to officially declare him the winner. Once that is done, he will arrive here and address the media and Ghanaians on the way forward. Of course, he would thank everybody and then come out with some of the things we'll be doing within the next few days. Of course, we all know that he has to put together a transitional team. He has to put together, start making preparation towards his cabinet and key appointments and others. So I'm sure he will outline those programs and plans that he will be detailing within the next few days. And so this is just the beginning. Once the declaration is done, we will now start rolling programs towards resetting the country and then redirecting our economic emancipation. And then we also will start preparing the country for a future Ghana that we all want. This election, as I said, is a reflection of the pain and difficulties Ghanaians have gone through. And so the Ghanaians are expecting that we give them the best of leadership. And so knowing His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, he will do just that. It's called for sober reflection. It calls for commitment and dedication to the cause of Ghana. And so at this moment, I would all want to entreat our supporters to allow His Excellency to put out the best policies and strategies that will give us the best governance structure to be able to manage the country and manage it effectively.
Tell us, what number of minutes is this event expected to? I'm guessing that it should be 30 minutes, 1 hour, or it can be more than that?
Well, it depends. Once the Electoral Commissioner declared the result, I'm sure within 30 to an hour, His Excellency will be here. Normally, this thing doesn't take much time. Maximum 1 hour, we are out of this place. Yes, once he comes, I'm sure one or two speeches will be made by maybe the General Secretary, the National Chairman, and of course, His Excellency would also make his acceptance speech. And once that is done, we are good to go. The fact of the matter is that this election clearly shows how disappointed the people of Ghana are in the NPP administration. And so it's also called for a lot of discipline and sober reflection from our MPs, future ministers, future chief executives, because we need some kind of discipline to be able to move this country forward. And so we want to urge all those who will be supporting His Excellency in the future government to make sure that we do what is necessary and what is best for the development of Ghana.
Thank you very much. So you just heard from Ludwig Klodge. Now let's get closer and speak to the former chairman of the NDC, Samuel Ampofo, who just arrived here on the ground. Mr. Ampofo, you're welcome to JoyNews.
Thank you very much.
I see you in your white. Tell me, what is the feeling like for the NDC?
The feeling is very, very good. Very sweet victory. Very, very, very decisive, comprehensive victory for the NDC. A sign that the good people of this country have totally rejected Dr. Akufo-Addo government, and for that matter have voted massively to ask President John Dramani Mahama to come back and rescue this country, implement his People's Manifesto, and also reset this country and push this country to where we all want it to go. So I'm very happy. I'm a very tired person, having traversed around the country and spending sleepless nights, albeit not in too good shape as far as my health is concerned. I thought that for the sake of liberating this country, there was a need for all of us to sacrifice a little to ensure that we get this result. So I want to thank all Ghanaians for the confidence that they have reposed in His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, and for the massive vote that they have given to our various parliamentary candidates in order to ensure that we have a very, very comfortable majority in Parliament in order to prosecute the agenda and the programs and the social contract that we have signed with the good people of this country. I think that the people have spoken very loud and clear, and it is a signal that all politicians should have to take a cue from it, and we also need to take a very strong cue from it to ensure that we do not take the people for granted when they give us their mandate, and that we need to humble ourselves and then serve the interests of the people rather than lord it over them. So I believe that what we need to do is to put people's first, put Ghana first before our personal interests. And once we are able to do that, selflessly serve the people of this country and stay focused on our agenda to rescue this country and reset the country, I believe that the good people of this country will continue to give us their mandate. So I'm very excited. I am very happy that we have such a very free atmosphere, devoid of violence. I mean, across the country there are just a pocket of misunderstanding here and there. But I heard the National Communication Officer, Mr. Sabi Jemfi, calling all the party people to order and asking them that where there are disputes in handling electoral resource, they should leave it for the people that the party has mandated, because the party has very competent hands. And I want to commend the Election Directorate for the yeoman's job that they have done. And I believe that where there are pockets of disagreement, people have been deployed, senior members have been deployed. I just spoke with Honorable Sylvester Mensah, who told me that he's at Tema Central, where they are doing recollation and others there. I do not think that we need to take the laws into our own hands. What we need is that we need a very peaceful atmosphere in order to usher in the new government and to create the environment where development can really thrive. And so to that extent, I will ask all and sundry that let's hold our fire. We believe in democracy. We believe in rule of law. Where there are disagreement, let's allow the law enforcement agencies to, handle the matter. I also believe that any further delay by the Electoral Commission is not helping. Where they are certain about the results, they should declare the results expeditiously and reduce the tension that is going on. I want to commend the NPP flag bearer for the early concession that he gave, and I believe that others must take a cue from him, and where they have lost, they must admit that they have lost. People are giving all sorts of explanations. pink sheets are pink sheets. If you don't have your pink sheet, you cannot go and manufacture any from anywhere. You cannot go and take pictures of mobile phones and bring it as evidence. Yours is to carry your pink sheet. If the pink sheet is altered, it is altered. The Electoral Commission must ensure when you go to their offices at the district level and they have challenges, they say we are consulting from above, which means that the chairperson and his commissioners ought to be swift in dealing with these situations, because it will not be in anybody's interest if we continue on these things. I have heard situations like Domin Kobenya, for instance, where the results have been collated and declared. The law is very clear. Once the results is collated and declared, and the Electoral Commissioner, the returning officer, declares that this is the person who has won the election, that is the end of the case. If you have any challenge, go to court, because you cannot go and call for recount when the returning officer has duly declared the results of the elections.
I've heard adjectives like emphatic, landslide, resounding, describing this victory. And in fact, some have said that it feels like a Green in Ghana initiative. I want to find out, how green is the Eastern region? Because we saw you on the ground when...
Gentlemen, we need to cut in there because I want to take it to the Electoral Commission. Let's go live now. This is Ayawaso Central, I believe. Let's go there now. Let's listen to the Electoral Commission officer.
Stations out of 140 at the end of the election at Okankwe Central Constituency. Patrick Yabuama had 14,949. Abu Baba Abdullah Sadiq had 15,383. Total valid votes is 30,302. 332. Rejected ballot is 130. Total vote cast 30,462. So from this election,
represents 78%. 110.
This represents 110. This represents 78% of the election held at Okankwe Central. So from this result, Baba Sadiq has been elected Member of Parliament for Okankwe Central. Thank you. 2024.
There is the results of Okankwe Central in. This is another very, very interesting outcome indeed. It's been on a knife edge all evening into this morning. Both Baba Sadiq and Patrick Boama had claimed victory in this area, and it was keenly contested. Just now been declared, as you see on your screens. Patrick Boama, the NPP, 14,949. The NDC's Baba Sadiq, we know him, is the man who obviously, because of his background in entertainment, was very popular. He was all over the place in terms of the media appearance. Comes in winner at 15,383. There's something about this that says we've not heard the last of Okankwe Central. Raymond.
First and foremost, I was confused about this 78% of the results claim.
Let's go back. Let's listen to Baba Sadiq.
We were the last one seat candidates. We were told that, in fact, the most credible pollster in Ghana today is Winston Amoah. Winston Amoah had put out a research earlier in the year where he had said that Okankwe Central was the safest and the NPP seat in Greater Accra, and Patrick Boama was going to go nowhere. And I remember telling a lot of people about Winston Amoah doesn't know me well. Perhaps if he has taken time to understand the mindset of Baba Sadiq and how I win, maybe he won't stick his neck out in the ways he did for Patrick Boama. But I mean, research is research. We took that in good faith. And in actual fact, Musa will probably tell you that I had to try to engage with a lot, try to understand what are the insights, where were we failing, what are the issues. We worked on it. you know, and we realize that research is research, but the most important and relevant to the polls is that which happens on Elections Day. That has stuck with us. And one thing that stuck with me is, look, on that week when Mr. Acquah was doing his interviews, the regional chairman called me, Ashimo. He told me his story in 2012 when Ben Efson had sticked his neck out and said that he was going to retire if he wins the Adenta seat then, you know. And then he told me what he did afterwards, how he garnered the strength internally and managed to win that particular seat. And that story has stuck with me as well. You know, I think, and I've always maintained, but for what Patrick Obama was trying to do now, which is very shameful, I've always maintained that I don't think he's a bad person. You know, I've always maintained I don't think he's not done his best for the constituency. But I think that this is the point where the constituency itself is looking for a more younger, dynamic, innovative, bold and visionary man to come and continue and elevate the development conversation in the constituency. Our message of transformation, our message to create sustainable livelihoods for the constituency, and particularly young people, jobs for young people in the constituency, really touched the hearts of the constituency. And we never slept. Morning, afternoon, evening, we were campaigning. When he was sharing money and sharing goodies, we were campaigning. You know, in the last few days, we had heard the report where he had told others, confided in others, that he was going to engage in fraudulent activities in the elections. We took it in good faith. And then we put in work. I mean, from the able-bodied men and women of our constituency, the elections directorates, some of the executives, and the entire rank and file of the party, how we were able to unite our ranks after primaries, how we were able to get all other aspirants into the mix, how we were able to get executives that had issues with us. We managed to get everybody on board, and during the last minute we were able to put it together, campaign heavily, and then we won.
Importantly, your supporters are still massing up out there. What's your message?
Well, my message is to become, we've already won now. We're going to Okankwe Center to jubilate.
And go back.
Yeah, we're all going back. We're going back with them. We're going to celebrate. We're going to have fun.
Okay, and so that's Baba Sadiq there.
First of all, let me use this opportunity to thank all the constituents of Okankwe Central for their resilience, for staying the course and coming here to support us and the parliamentary candidate. What we saw was very riveting. It was shocking. We saw a deliberate attempt by some officers of the commission to fraudulently alter the results so that they would be able to rig in favor of the NPP candidate.
I'm sure the results have been declared. We've moved beyond that.
We have luckily discovered, and the results have been declared. But the note of caution we want to send is that whoever perpetrated that fraud should not be left to go scot-free, because that is what has happened to our elections in the past and has brought the integrity of our elections down. We hope that the Electoral Commission, having admitted and having seen the error committed or the fraudulent error committed by their POs, their presiding officers, will launch a further investigation into this particular matter. We shouldn't sweep it under the carpet. These are 31 different polling presiding officers who have conducted that fraud on the people of Okankwe Central. So we want to ask the Electoral Commission to launch an investigation into this matter, identify the individuals, and let the law deal with them. As we speak, we are already dealing with one case of theft of BVRs, and we have seen no action from the commission. We have seen no action from the police service. We cannot continue to have an election where officials appointed to man the elections will commit fraud and steal the will of the people. And so this is the point and the demand we are having on the electoral.
What happens to Ablikumano?
The regional director who assessed the forms, who assessed the pink sheets, and the district directors who assessed the pink sheets all saw that there was wanton, clear, fraudulent alteration of the forms. And we hope that this will never happen in any constituency. But it will not happen if the Electoral Commission does not investigate and the culprits are prosecuted. So we are going to deal with the next constituency that is also suffering the same problem. That is Ablekumanov. So we are going to stay the course here with the officers, and we are going to go through one after the other, and we'll make sure that Ablekumanov is also declared in favor of the National Democratic.
What process are you going to employ in that? The first one, you did the over 60% rule. How are you going to do with that? Are you going to do polling station by polling station collation?
We didn't do the over 66% rule. It's a rule of elections. 2/3. When there are contention in some of the polling stations and you have 2/3, you can stand on it and use it to declare. And so that is what we have applied. It's a law of the commission. All our elections, that's what we do. In fact, 4 years ago, it happened in Sefiyo also, and Takwa, and so on and so forth. And so it's not a new law, it's an electoral commission law. We are yet to see the case of Ablekumanov, but you can be rest assured. And all our party members in Ablekumanov and Ghana at large can be rest assured that we are going to use eagle eyes, if you want eagle lens, to copiously look at every single pin sheet. And where we find any fraud, we will eliminate the fraud and make sure that the will of the people prevail.
And so that Peter Boama Otokuno there, I'll be trying to see if I can speak to the NPP side to know if they accept this result that have been declared, which declared the NDC candidate Baba Sadiq winner for Okaikwe Central, to know if they have also accepted the result. But Evans, I'm sure you can take it from here as we wait for how the Ablekuma North.
So Baba Sadiq has won Ablekuma Central, and that is what you have in your shot there. He wins it with 15,383 votes against Patrick Boama's 14,949. And it's instructive to note that Patrick Boama wasn't there at the center when this was announced. And I was saying earlier that I'm pretty sure we haven't heard the last of this. By the way, I need to also say that the Ablekuma North, we understand it's very tense there, where our reporter is getting there for us. We'll bring you the very latest from Ablekuma North, where it just on a knife, just like what had just been settled in Ablekuma. This is the Okankwe Central. This is Okankwe Central constituency. But in Ablekuma North, it's still very tense there. We understand that it's getting pretty chaotic. The security officers there are attempting to try and bring it under control. Gentlemen, Winston first. This Okaikwe Central result is a fascinating one indeed. We heard Baba Sadiq already say, dismissing the polls that said it is a stronghold of the NPP. It's as strong as it gets. It's what I call a dominant stronghold. It's impossible to flip. It has flipped. It has fallen.
Yes, and you know, so I remember having a conversation with Baba Sadiq at the time. He had been elected the NDC's parliamentary candidate, and I was like, oh, but this is you know, an area that Patrick Boama wins. Now, Patrick Boama earlier in 2012 had contested and won the primaries of the Okaikwe North constituency. And then it was split into, you know, Okaikwe North. At the time, it was Okaikwe South and North. Then there was Okaikwe Central created. At the time, the feeling was that Okaikwe Central was supposed to be the NDC seat out of the Okaikwe areas. So this is the area predominantly, you know, you're looking at Abaka, those areas and all of that. Then Patrick Boama decides to contest in Okaikwe Central. He wins it. By 2020, he wins it by some 9,000 votes. But there's something that Baba Sadiq did. He went into the area and looked at all the things that Patrick Boama uses to win. So this is Patrick Boama, who is very popular, even amongst the Muslim community. So you would have imams preaching and sometimes applauding Patrick Boama for the things he does. He got his boys to prevent that from happening. So when you get into the mosque, he says no politics. He also gets in there, and part of the campaign at the time would be, oh, Bemen Nunyam for Kama. He gets in there, he tries to...
Okay, I need to interrupt you when you're saying, I want to take you to the Dr. Bawumia campaign office where the National Youth Organizer, I believe, is addressing the press. I want to take you there live now.
being carried out by NDC supporters against electoral officials, NPP parliamentary candidates, and security personnel is unprecedented. These incidents have been recorded and have been shown on various national media and social media platforms. There are videos all over, and not one NPP supporter has been seen carrying out any such dastardly acts. We are shocked that the NDC would actually attribute the vandalism going on to NPP supporters. We have lost an election, and it beats any imagination that our supporters rather will come out and ransack and run amok, break into state property and even personal property and destroying them. The affected constituencies still in an embattled decision-making as a result of mayhem being caused by the NDC include Domi Kwabenya, Okainkwe Central, Ablekumanov, Tema Central, Nsawam Edwajiri, Suhum, Akwetia, Fentia Kwanov, Pandai, Karga, Gushegu, Ahafano, North, Obuasi East, Ahafano Southwest, Techiman South, Damango, Awing, the NDC in these constituencies have resorted to physical attacks on NPP agents, seizure and burning of ballots and pink sheets in order to destroy the very document needed for the declaration of winners of the election in these constituencies. We have seen and witnessed several episodes of alarming escalation of violence being meted out by NDC supporters, threats and physical attacks on EC officials and security personnel, even your own colleagues, media personnel. I have heard horrible stories of media personnel hiding under tables to give reportage because of very serious violence being meted out and attacks on coalition centers across the country. In the Medina constituency, an NDC supporter stormed the NPP's election operations center, accusing them of ballot printing and vote manipulation. In the Okaikwe North constituency, violence erupted at the Akweteman as NDC youth armed with machetes attacked the NPP party office, destroying vehicles and property. The NDC youth then alleged that the NPP parliamentary candidate had deployed thugs to disrupt the elections. In the Obuasi East constituency, the NDC voters clashed with military personnel at the Aka Poliso in an attempt to seize their firearms. In the Tolon constituency, tensions escalated when suspected NDC supporters vandalized an NPP monitoring team's vehicle at the Nyankpala DA polling center. There is no doubt now that the NDC trained and primed their supporters to cause mayhem, and they are doing what they have been drummed into. They have a quest to challenge the security forces if the state security should act, despite the peaceful nature in which these elections have taken place on 7th December, and how NPP supporters have carried themselves in a peaceful manner. The NDC will then resort to accusations. the NDC is forcefully trying to take over election declaration in the regional EC offices. The obvious intention is mass provocation, which will only result in violence, disruption of activities, and a disruption of the key peace processes which we have fought so hard to protect. The NDC supporters have already gone on rampage and are looting public and private properties in Greater Accra, in Ayawaso North Assembly. Freezers were seen being carried away. In the Nadmor office, NDC supporters attacked officials who were at work. Constituency offices of the New Patriotic Party have been violated and destroyed. In Tamale, the Agric office and the school feeding warehouse have been looted. This is exactly what leads to electoral violence. The NDC are challenging and punishing and pushing security forces to respond so that they can quickly turn and accuse them of intimidation and violence on their supporters. We, the NPP, are calling for action, defending our democracy, which we have all built over the last 32 years. The NPP will not allow the NDC to undermine Ghana's hard-won democracy. It is our responsibility to protect every citizen of this great nation. And it is for all of us to protect the democracy that we have. We demand law and order. We call on the Ghana Police Service to maintain law and order at all collation centers. And some of the videos we have seen, it's heartbreaking that supporters of the NDC are vandalizing the Electoral Commission offices, and sometimes the police are watching and doing absolutely nothing. And we feel that rather the police should be stopping these people from undertaking such actions and protect the sanctity of the electoral process. We demand for electoral accountability. We urge the Electoral Commission to ensure the swift execution of its constitutional mandate without interference and intimidation. Please, get the needed documents to make you effectively carry out your mandate. It is only the Electoral Commission that the law has mandated and have the primary data to make elections. And we expect that they put their numbers together and tell us how the election is looking, and not the preserve of political parties. Our demand to His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, the former president, it is you who will be responsible for Ghana's peace, security, and economic stability in the few coming weeks. A chaotic country is certainly not good for him. We are therefore highly surprised and deeply disappointed that you look on while these incidents weakening the foundation of peace, security, and stability, foundation of peace, security, and economic stability to be handed to you, continue to suffer harm. We, the NPP, demand that John Dramani Mahama immediately instruct his supporters and party people to stand down and allow the EC to do its work. We caution you to note that continued propagation and aggression by the NDC supporters may lead to reactions which would jeopardize national stability. We are committed to peace. From the word go, our presidential candidate appended his signature to the Peace Pact, and his party is committed to its spirit and latter. We cannot but also defend ourselves if we come under extreme attack. Over the last period, in the last few hours, our party base and support base, we have held on because of the posturing of our presidential candidate. In the history of this country, within 12 hours of close of polls, he says that in the interest of peace and stability of this country, we have seen the trajectory of the results. Therefore, to avoid any build-up of tension, I concede defeat. It was our belief that this should have calmed the system, calmed the NDC, to ensure that the processes left thereof would all run seamlessly. Unfortunately, that's not what we are seeing. And the full blown of the horror is right in your faces, the media of Ghana. If this is what the NDC won power for, then it looks like we have a very rough ride coming our way. It's rather unfortunate that this is what we are being subjected to. We appeal to all NPP supporters, Ghanaians, to remain calm and remember that we are one nation with a shared destiny. Elections are not a justification for violence and division. They are not. Let us all work together to maintain the peace and stability that have been the hallmark of our democracy and the benchmark of Ghana. I believe that the NDC can do better. They can do better. If we are holding the fort on our part, we believe they can also hold the fort on their part. I'm therefore calling on the leadership of the NDC to call all their people off the streets, to get them out of the coalition centers, and let the EC do their work. You already have what you want, and I do not see the necessity of the brutalities going on. Just before we came in, sadly, we received news that Madam Esla Ewusu Ekufu's house has also been vandalized in Ablekuma West. Few minutes ago, Yendi is also under attack. This cannot be the spectacle. Our member of parliament for Tolong, his house is under attack. Just for what reason? Just for what reason? That you have won elections? So the country should flame up? Should flame up? We didn't go attacking people when we won 2020 elections in 2016. We didn't do that. So why is the NDC subjecting us to this horror? We think that the media should take this up. It is uncalled for. It is gory. It is shameful. It's reprehensible. It's inconceivable. It is unthinkable and cruel, dastardly, and all the words you can find to describe it. We are committed to ensuring a very peaceful transfer of power to the NDC. If the country goes up in flame, they are the losing end. And that's why I'm urging that the one who stands to gain, President John Dramani Mahama, calls his party to order, that this country is bigger than any politician, all of us, and that the peace and security of this country should be the interest of everyone. Should be the interest of everyone. What is going on, if you push people to the wall, there might be a rebound. And that's exactly the point we don't want to get. I therefore plead that let's all work together, the NPP and the NDC, to ensure that we have our democracy and the peace of the country intact. And on this note, I say thank you for coming, and that when the need arises that we address the press again, we will. Thank you.
There is the NPP's caution to the NDC. They want a peaceful transition process, but as you've just been hearing there, some of their stalwarts, some of the parliamentary candidates who also double as ministers, some of them are now being attacked. You just talked about Winston Amoah Prof's home that has been vandalized. And we're also hearing the Ablekuma North incident that we will be taking you to pretty shortly. We're also watching the Electoral Commission's own planned press conference at 4:30. We are waiting that. We're anticipating that it's going to be the declaration of the presidential results. Post that, we will be live at the office of the President-elect, John Dramani Mahama, for his victory speech. You want to stay with us? But I can bring in a man who has ridden that green wave and delivered victory for the NDC in a constituency that is a dominant stronghold of the NPP. One of those very interesting outcomes of these shocking elections. I want to bring in John Dumelo, who is joining me right now on phone. He is the parliamentary candidate-elect for the Ayawaso West Wuogon constituency. Mr. Dumelo, thanks for your time here on your election headquarters.
Good afternoon, but I beg Evans to be MP elect, not parliamentary
MP.
candidate.
What did I say? Parliamentary candidate elect. Okay, yes.
We work hard for it.
Yes.
The man has been waiting for this day for a very long time.
Let's rephrase that. Because the primaries ended a long time ago.
Yeah, long ago.
Let me bring in the MP elect for Ayawaso West Wuogon constituency.
Thank you.
And John, great to have you. Give me first of all, it's been a few hours since that official declaration. Has it all sunk in yet?
I think maybe not yet. I mean, of course, there was just a little bit back and forth in the last couple of days or a few hours after the elections, but it hasn't really sunk in yet. I'm sure sometime this week it will really sink in, and everything will just be clear that indeed I'm the MP elect for the Ayawaso West Wuogon constituency.
Just out of curiosity, has Ma Lydia called you to congratulate you yet?
Oh no, she hasn't.
Okay.
She hasn't.
Tell me, what do you put this victory down to in an area that no NDC candidate had done it before?
Right. Well, I think for me it was surprising. The numbers that were coming in was surprising. I mean, the gap that we won with is surprising to me. But all in all, some people to say it's not surprising because we really worked. I think for the last, even after the elections in 2020, we started working. But in the last 1 year, it's been door to door because number one, we knew we had limited resources. Number two, we just knew that there was also no time. And so the only thing we had was our legs and our hands to knock on doors and plead with them to give us a chance to come back to power in terms of the presidency, and also give us a chance for us to be the MP in Ayawaso West Wuogon, or for the NDC to take over the seat. And so it's been 1 year of hard work, 1 year of sleepless nights, and I give glory to God.
And I watched one of your post-victory interviews in which you are already committing to ensure that the mandate that has been given to you, you will use it to deliver development to the people. I know you had a message that what now you've won, where will the priorities be for you?
Well, now that I've won, I think, I mean, in all fairness, Ayawa West is probably the only constituency that has 7 to 8 tertiary institutions. And so more than half the population are students. And so you have to, you know, give priority to them as well. So the student consent. And also, aside that, you have people who have been living in Ayawa West for 10, 20, 30 years who also have their consent. You also have a few, if I may put it, squatters here and there who also have their consent. So Ayawa West is mixed with everybody in it, and each and every one of them have their consent. But what is important to note is 4 years is not that far, or 4 years is just pretty much a day after tomorrow. And so if I don't start working now, the 4 years will come and I'll realize that nothing has been done. Some people would say, oh, Ayawa West is probably the most developed constituency in Ghana, but it's really not. I mean, we still have certain roads to be done. There are some places where there's no water, and there are a lot of dark roads in Ayawa West, and so pretty much there's a lot to be done as well.
And, you know, the NDC has scored a monumental victory, historic, but for the NPP, it's been a thrashing, a complete bloodbath, and you talk to the party, they are beginning to take stock now, and they believe this is a lesson that the electorate had delivered to them. But for the NDC, though, considering the massive votes you're receiving all across the country, if you look at it on the national level, what does this mean for you? Do you get a sense that something about our politics must change on the back of this result? And what should that be?
Well, the first thing is, one, you don't take the people for granted. You don't take voters for granted. And so it's the same people that voted you into power. And so when you get there, please, as much as possible, represent them well. And don't be too complacent. Don't think because you have power, you can do whatever it is that you like. Indeed, yes, NDC has swept a lot of seats. Almost all Ghana is green. But for us, it's a lesson that 4 years will come and people will vote for you based on what you've done. I mean, you can go and share all the money that you want. You can go and share all the rice and oil that you want. But if you don't stick to the needs of the people and address it, they would vote you out. And so for me, that's a lesson to me that, of course, if I don't do my work well, 4 years, you know, that if I decide to go again, 4 years, they will vote me out based on my track record. And so we shouldn't take anyone for granted at all.
And John Dumelo, and I want to do this properly as you exit this interview, it's the MP-elect, the Member of Parliament-elect for Ayawa West. And congratulations to you. Well deserved. And that there's John Dumelo there. And that is a lesson, he says, has been learned. Sometimes you don't have to wait for it to happen to you to learn the lesson. But the question, Raymond, is the politician is a very interesting breed. When 2016 was done, before now, that was the closest we've come to a complete bloodbath, and it was in 2016. And we said the NPP would have learned the lesson from that defeat that the NDC suffered.
Yeah.
It didn't take 2 years for them to start repeating the same mistakes, same arrogance, same taking everybody for granted, and it got worse until this defeat. So you listen to me, says, we've learned the lessons, yeah?
I frankly do not think that a lot will change in our politics because these candidates are not strange people. We know them. We've known their politics. We've known their campaigning tactics. We know that they owe people. We know that they are not saints. And they do not represent generally the best of our people to be represented in constituencies. The difficulty in our politics is that accountability is extremely low. It waits for 4 years, and people are patient to do that. They are not responsive to the needs of the people because even before the guy steps in, he has collected so much money from people that he has to prioritize their needs. He has a party that is holding him to account, and that when the party says, let's pass this law, even if it's terrible for his constituents, he will join in the bandwagon. So I am not one of those going to pretend that merely because the people have shown a lot of anger, politicians would automatically learn from that. I think they are built to disregard some of these things so far as it doesn't go in their interest. It's not all of them, though. Some of them, and mostly in this republic, a few people, can identify the problems and deal with the problems right from the beginning. But most of them, and if you take $300,000, like CDD has been saying, money you don't have, you borrowed to go and actually contest elections. And the gentleman is doing a project in your constituency and doing it terribly. And people complain, but on whose side will you be? The guy you obviously took the money from. So, Evans, even though the people are signaling the new kind of politics they want, I'm afraid I do not get it with the people who stood for the elections and the people who ended up eventually being elected into parliament as the people who spearhead a new form of election. Mark it on the wall. We come 4 years, we have repeated complaints about disregard, repeated complaints about people doing the wrong things to them, and people basically not respecting them, and the impunity. Unless maybe we are minded to change the fundamentals of our politics, including people getting elected not because they owe people. Yeah. People getting elected not because a few people, how do you go, the term they use is godfathers, are actually sponsoring them and putting them there. I hope you get my point. I mean, listen, if George Mello has the request from 400 of his constituents to pay school fees for them, where is he going to take the money to do that? MP share of the common fund? Or his own salary as member of parliament? How much is that amount of money? Right. You get my point? Yeah. So I am not one of those naive people who is just hopeful because the people have indicated they are willing to change. Fundamentally, our politics has not changed, regardless of what's happening here. And I can bet you, if the fundamentals of our politics do not change, these people will still be the same sort of people. They will represent their interests and the interests of a few against the collective in this country, and nothing much will change.
It's Prof. I mean, we're now talking about the lessons, but I want to come back to the results. And I'm just looking at the map here, and the more I look at it, the more I get so fascinated. And Prof, when you look at this Western region area here, it is shocking just to see what has happened in that part of the country. This is an area that the NPP swept. This is the Western region, completely. And it's all gone green. Let me just isolate. No, this is not what I want. Just look at that. It's all gone green.
Oh, this is the Western region?
This is the Western region.
Wow. Oh, from Winston's hometown through to the
This is the West.
See some blue down there.
Is it one or two?
Yeah, just two of them. Just two of them.
Two blues.
Two blues. Ifya and Takrade. Ifya and Takrade. Wow. I mean, I'm going to hold Ifya.
The entirety of Winston's hometown and his region.
This is the Western region now. This is the Western region in 2020.
I mean, yes, there was a blue section. It's predominant. We could see it.
Yeah. There were a lot of them. Huge swathes of blue. Completely all disappeared into green. That's the story of the Western region. Now, the story of the Western North. This is Western North now. This is Western North now. This is Western North in 2020. 2020.
3.
2024.
1.
Wow. I mean, Prof.
So, honestly, I don't know how I'm going to explain this academically. but I think it
the
is... The
modeling required.
Yes.
The theory required.
I think it is more about maybe the way the people were not happy with the NPP government, their performance, the bandwagon, but also the way the NDC also campaigned. I remember when you had listened to Asidi Nketia move from one constituency to the other, you always tell them, You saw what's happening in Parliament now. If you vote for John Mahama, vote for the NDC candidate. That there have been an attempt to do campaign for skirt and blouse. So whenever you go and vote for JM, vote for the NDC candidate. And I think they might have listened to it. But honestly, besides that, besides the campaign strategy and highlighting the importance of having a complete control over Parliament to be able to help the president-elect implement his policies, the people just thought that we need to demonstrate our anger. But I also think largely it's also because maybe there was also a lot of apathy on the NPP side. There are people who didn't come out to vote. And they believe, if I'm angry, the best way I can do it is to stay at home rather than go and vote for the opposition NDC. So the voter apathy also contributed to the complete demolition that happened at the parliamentary level. And honestly, it has a lot of implications.
It does.
For governance, but for the tendency to be dictatorial of the party that controls parliament. And also, it will have an implication on accountability, but also checks and balances. So moving forward, this is an overwhelming mandate. The NDC can use it very well to be able to get the people who have voted for them served properly, but they can also use it mischievously. And I do hope that they should use it in the positive way to be able to move forward their policies and programs in their manifesto.
Winston.
But Evans, I'm still confused as to how to.
Yeah, I mean it's difficult to even comprehend when you look at the blue and the green. I mean this whole area, this entire enclave here, is gone. It's gone to green.
A bit about what Prof said. I'll come back to this whole green thing. I think yesterday I was trying to explain that to you, but a bit about what Prof said. And Raymond, we've had this conversation before, and I said that based on what I had seen in this parliament, unfortunately, I wasn't going to support a hang parliament or one party having the executive and the another having the legislature in this country. Because we saw the waste of time in this parliament. We saw it, okay? We saw how a lot of the things that you expect to be done, because after all, most of the things until the last 6 months, everything the government wanted to do, it did. Eventually, it did. But of course, as Joe Asewusu told told Manasseh Azuri Awene in his book, everything you took to Parliament, there was something on it. Everything. I'm just quoting a book the President of Ghana never got. You had members of Parliament in leadership admitting that every time they took anything to Parliament, there was something on it. Today, in this Parliament, where the NDC has over 180 members of Parliament, look, the issue of quorum will never be an issue mainly. Because the moment government wants to do something and gets its members of Parliament in Parliament, they would have quorum. If it wants to take a decision, they can take that decision. I can understand those who say, oh, but sometimes you need check and balances. But Parliament itself did not conduct business in a way that gave Ghanaians the assurance that if Ghanaians voted in that similar manner, they could do anything good. But as for the Western Enclave, I had explained that already. I told you, for instance, if you go to the Western Regional Minister, Takrade, for instance, he's lucky he won. Because in that constituency, in the primaries, the young Kakraba Sam got over 200 votes. He also had 200 votes. It was very close, okay, in the NPP parliamentary primary. This is a man who's been member of parliament since 2009. Since 2009, Kobna Ochridako Mensah has been member of parliament for the Takrade constituency. Like I told you yesterday, it gets to that point in time. And of course, there had been concerns even about some of the things that he had done in the region. And what Kojo Oponkroma talked about.
Did you see the presidential?
Yes, I see it.
In Takrade?
Yes.
15,740 for Baumia, 15,296 for JM.
And under 500 votes.
Under 500 votes.
Kojo Oponkroma talked about something. And if you look at it critically, we have seen the Greater Accra Region Statement of Poll. The NDC had about 1.2 million. That is around the same figure they had in the 2020 general elections. True. The NPP, the NDC had 1.3 million at the time. The NPP that had 1.2 million reduces to about 600,000.
Yeah.
It tells you a story. But this is the other point, something that the Trade and Industry Minister doesn't understand. I now get it why he was handling the cement issue the way he was handling it. Yes. You cannot suggest that the economic problems were only in Accra and Kumasi. Why?
And still, today, they are making those arguments.
Don't the people of Adansia Soka buy food?
Yeah.
Don't they feel the impact of the rising inflation in this country? Don't they feel it all the time when they're going to the market to buy anything? After all, this is not a country. And you see, when you pretend that, the people in the rural areas, they don't need anything, they don't buy anything. I was surprised when, years ago, somebody wanted to sell his car to me. I was in, he said, you are my friend, so you bring this amount of money. Even at that, I didn't even have that kind of money. And this is somebody that you would never have imagined that would be selling that car to you. Go to the rural areas, people have a lot of funds available to them. So for you to think that the people in the rural areas don't feel the brunt of this economy, they don't feel, the challenges that people are going through in Accra, I am sorry, you get it wrong. And once you get it wrong, and you see, so over the period, and Kojo Oponkoma makes a point, this is something the NPP should have seen. The arrogance of power. When everybody says anything, you are NDC. Even on radio.
Yeah.
When we started a campaign against illegal mining, they said NDC had come to see you. People say, NDC Vabre Musikana. Everything you say, NDC, you stay in Accra and do this, you stay in Accra and do that. The simple thing, like I said yesterday, is that before 2024, by 2020, the NPP should have seen this coming. COVID-19 saved the NPP in 2020.
True.
Unfortunately, they told us the same story, added Russia, Ukraine, and then told us of the banking, financial sector crisis, which...
And energy sector debt.
Energy sector debt, which you took a bond to clear, but never cleared, and still kept charging us for that. I mean, look, let's be frank here. In fact, what Ghanaians did, Ghanaians have been very charitable with the NPP. Because what you see is a situation where a lot of their members didn't show up to vote. You didn't have a lot of Ghanaians standing out to punish them. If more Ghanaians had come out, and also the other problem is that people have lost trust in the system.
True.
And so you have the core base of the NDC showing up to vote. If the floating population had come out to vote, the defeat of the NPP would have been worse than we're seeing today. Because this is the point. A lot of people said, well, I'm not going to vote. We've seen it all. We're not going to vote. What are we expecting? It's the same thing. We're not going to vote. We're not going to vote. But if they had shown up and voted, at least they would have sent another signal to the NPP. Today, I am just checking, what do we have here? 5,866,825, and then 4,195,163, 57.17%. This is not what the post captured. The post captured around 52%. And this is just the base of the NDC showing up to vote, more or less. It tells you something. It tells you also, when the people vote you into office, do not think that you can do everything you want to do and then show up when it's time for elections, come and grade their roads, start this Adanko Dada kind of politics. That today, my road at Abokobi, over the past 3 days, the grader is there. It's not working again.
Yeah, on the back of this result, I'm pretty sure you have to wait for another 4 years.
No. I will not wait for 4 years again.
Okay, and what are you going to do?
If you don't come and fix the road, we know what to do.
Okay.
There was a survey that said that...
Just a second, we'll be going to the Electoral Commission's headquarters pretty shortly, where the National Collation Center is. You see that on your shot there. In your shot, that's where the final declaration will be made by Madam Jean Mensah. I'll be going there pretty shortly. It is billed to start at 4:30, and we're waiting for that to happen. That will be the official close of the elections. Once that is declared, we can all, I guess, begin to analyze the rest of it. And I'm looking forward to the eventual turnout, and then we can begin to compare it to the other, second-term elections, which tend to be low. Yeah. I expect it to be a historic low turnout compared to what we've seen in the last 32 years, and that's one of the things you're watching. But we also are the EC's Greater Accra Coalition Centre, where a few constituencies are still in contention. Ablekuma North. I'm still waiting to go to Ablekuma North because of what we understand is happening there. And to get you clarity, there's also some uncertainty on the Dom Kwabenya one. But if you're just joining us, the Okankwe Central elections, which was contested on the 9th urge, has now been decided and declared. The NDC's Baba Sadiq has won it with 15,000 votes. In fact, the difference between Baba Sadiq and Patrick Boama is 434 votes. So that's very, very tiny there, but he wins it. I'm very convinced that we've not had the last of it in that particular constituency. And of course, if you are not happy at the end, after the collation, you can go to court. I believe that's what it is, which is what Katie Hammond doesn't want to say, instead of pointing that to the fact that he's asking for a recount.
Now, first and foremost, the procedure is quite clear. I'm not sure exactly what Katie Hammond has pointed out as a problem in the constituency.
He said the pink sheets were not pink.
With respect, the document given to the EC, is he disputing that that's what's being used for the election? First and foremost. Secondly, when you say it's not pink, what does it really mean? Because it's duplicates that are given to people. If the EC has the original and you're all certified and had your signatures on, and let's not even put a lot of emphasis on, if you refuse to sign and it was counted and declared, it is clearly not invalidated by the lack of your signature. So that's also one point that we should note here. The third point here is that, is he saying that people brought the wrong pink sheets with their own data on it and declared against him? I heard the man basically justifying why he lost the election, giving reasons that even before the election, he had gone to areas that people had indicated to him, and some other areas, the things they were saying, he felt they were proverbially telling him they will not vote. He even said others had demanded money from him. Now, we call it ballot accounting. The man has been able to account for his losing the election, and yet appears to think that there is some difficulty. That is where we should not be raising needless qualms over these matters. It is easy. If he has different set of, let's say, pink sheets or the declaration forms, he can indeed go to court to do so. But I suspect Katie Hammond won't go to court.
No, even the way he spoke, he won't. Because and you're right, he actually admits that when he looks at his own pink sheets, the results reflect the outcome. And then by the pink sheets, the color,
you know what Katie Hammond is trying to do? He's trying to do he's going through the grief process. He's living in some form of a denial. Yes. But even with that denial, he doesn't seem to have the reason to say, because of this, I didn't do that. He says, oh, that we are young. Where's the evidence? The pink sheets are not the same.
Some of the signatures didn't look like signatures.
But why? You have your agents. You say a signature is some way. It's like all your agents can check with him.
It's like doing the analysis, doing all the analysis, and then your conclusion is different from the
what the evidence.
Your premise.
Because we say that for an argument to have logical strength, the premises, if true, should support the conclusion.
True.
But if your premises do not support your conclusion, then where are you going to? What Katie Hammond is just trying to tell you is that, you see, I think there's a way that I can win this. But that way is because I just don't accept this. But that's not the way you win elections.
Yes.
That's not the way you win elections. And it's also, he's trying to look for a reason. But deep down within his heart, he accepts the result. Because he tells you that, he's done everything that he could have done. Then later on, the people are telling him that, if you don't give us money, we're not going to vote for you. But that actually sends a signal. There's one thing politicians don't understand. The moment your constituents begin to demand money from you before they vote for you, now I was going to say this, good.
Now you've lost legitimacy.
Exactly. And listen to this. How do we do elections in this country? It starts from the primaries. Every party going through a primary, so when they come, and I've had a chance of listening to, some of the presidential aspirants, what they say to the people, and this is part of the problem, what they say to the people is that, if I come, the women organizer will be in charge of school feeding. I'm telling you.
True.
The youth organizer, YEA.
True.
The organizer will likely go to NADMO.
True.
Then the chairman or secretary probably would be, DCE or something. Or they'll find something for you. So what they tell the people all the time is that, you go to NADMO, you go to youth employment, you go to this, you go to that. So the people are expectant. They expect something from these, politicians. Now, the moment they win power, they forget about everything. They forget them, and I see it as business as usual. Now they become kings and queens who must be worshipped every day. So people keep coming to you, making demands, begging, oh, please, can you give me this? Can you give me that? There are people who make demands that are, unnecessary. Yeah. But there are people who genuinely have concerns that they come to you. They don't mind them. Now, these people would wait patiently because they know that you're going to come back to them to vote for you. The next time you come, they tell you we're not going to vote for you. And you see, Kojo Opon Kroma and Katie Amon both make the point. So it starts from the promises they make to these, voters. You tell them that if I come, I'll give you school feeding contract. They come, they don't get a school feeding contract. In some of the instances, wives of the MPs are the ones who are getting some of these all of these things. And you see, Kojo Opon Kroma makes a point. The impunity at a point in time of this government was legendary.
True.
And it got to a point that nobody could actually dissent when it comes to the government. And when you do that, people will punish you. You see, it got to a time, there are people that we call, and Raymond Evans, we call people and they tell you that, hey, me, should I come and talk? Hey, if I talk, they'll take me on, I beg you.
Yeah.
I don't see anything.
Even professors.
Yeah, of course, the professors. I mean, and I've had a professor who said one time that, oh, even this thing that I'm saying, very soon they'll start going to look at my tax records.
Yeah.
And so when you do all of those things,
we constricted the space.
The people will begin to take you on. And eventually, you know what's going to happen to you? You would lose because the people would send you a signal. They will punish you. And like I said, this is a case of more of, the NDC supporters showing up to vote. So even this defeat, Ghanaians have been charitable to the NPP. If the floating voters had turned out and wanted to show the government or teach the government a lesson, it would have been so catastrophic for the NPP.
And there's a bit of this that we should also understand as people who are interested in governance. The times where you could take people for granted and get away with it are becoming, what they call it, things of the past. People may not be, and I kept saying this, people may not show, and that's one thing I don't like about Ghanaians. They may see you and smile. And Katie Amon said it. He said that people say, oh, Yamisha, you better not reflect it. But he felt they were speaking to him in different language. People may not shout at you elsewhere. When they are angry that you're engaged in misgovernance and all of that, they come to your doorstep. They chase you. They want you to feel their brand. But Ghana, he may treat you nicely, with respect. He may talk to you, oh, honorable, and do all of the nice things, and yet go and vote against you. In fact, people can even vote against you right now, and the next second come and shake hands with you and say, oh, my brother, you are doing well. Continue doing well. If you continue listening to these voices, you will certainly fail. There are people who do not care. There are people like, what they call, as our job is to tell you the truth all the time. So if your business is to now isolate this grouping and say, oh, these are opponents, they are cynics, they are pessimists for life, they don't see anything good you are doing, you end up listening to the people who will not themselves get you in the right end. And I hope politicians get that.
Yeah. And we've been here and said this many times that I hope they get it.
Yes, 2016, I hope they get it. And it sounded like they were listening.
Yeah.
But Evans, can we look at this too from another perspective? All this while I've been talking about what the NPP has not done and what they have done. How about NDC strategy this time around?
Mm-hmm.
Is it possible that the NDC had a superior strategy? They campaigned very well. They were very vigilant, because we've seen a lot of attempts in the process. The former Interior Minister's constituency and several others where we had printed ballots that people were able to follow up, and they didn't add. It could also be that this time the NDC also had a superior strategy. They campaigned widely, they were very vigilant, they picked intel, and they were able to follow those intel. People came out and protected the ballot. That also changed a little bit of the narrative. Or it could just be that the NPP did.
No, I think you make a good point, because and I'll let all of you weigh in here, but the NDC definitely this time did something very effectively. First thing, their collation.
Yes.
Their collation strategy was this time superior.
Yeah.
This is a party that had learned the lesson from the 2016 crash of their collation system. It happened in 2012 too.
2020.
There was a 2020, and then there was 2016.
Yeah.
Yes, those two elections. In those two cases, their collation structures crashed. This time, they deployed a more effective collation system. In fact, they had several redundancies. The collation center that we saw JM go wasn't the only one.
Yes.
And my friends
have offline and online.
Oh, yes. In different locations. Yes. So you can target one, and here's the thing. Even within the NDC, not everybody knew where the collation centers were, all of them. It was on a need-to-know basis, because they couldn't trust who the NPP guys were possibly trying to compromise. Yeah. So, and there were people actually, as far as the polling station agents were concerned, for days before the election, you know which polling station you're going to be posted to. Because they didn't want a situation where people knew ahead. The NPP also would know that they can compromise it, especially in the Ashanti region. So the vigilance was above par, and there was, when we're covering, I don't know if you remember, there was this report from one of the constituencies, I believe in the Ashanti region, where the NPP officers at the polling station, in fact, the collation center, were preventing the NDC from using their equipment, the digitalized equipment that had been bought for them, that is translating the hard copies into real digital, readable form for the headquarters to use in terms of collation. Because the NPP officers were saying that the equipment were interfering with the EC's equipment, which obviously wasn't true, because they had not seen it before. In terms of the efficiency.
What they call it, the counter?
Yeah,
the counter.
Yeah.
You're talking about the counter?
I'm talking about the equipment that they...
yes, it's a counter.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
That they were using. You know, I'm just making a point about...
People are even suggesting that the counters had interference, competence, and all of that.
And
it was on social media.
It actually played out in a particular collation center. A constituency collation center where the NPP officers there were stopping the NDC officers, the agents, from using it. But that tells you that they were caught off guard. They didn't anticipate that the NDC would be this prepared. By 11, they knew they had won.
At 4 p.m.
In fact, way before 11.
In fact, at 4 p.m., there was message all over social media, from Omane Boama straight down to his deputies and all of the elections committee of the NDC saying, turn on your cameras. I wasn't sure, They had body cams. Yes. Turn on your cameras.
They had body cams because...
I was speaking to the media hall.
You know, and here's the thing. I had an interview with the General Secretary. Mm-hmm. After the 2016 elections, they went around, they did that report. Also in 2020, one of the things they found in the Ashanti region was the NPP had been very effective in infiltrating their ranks. Mm-hmm. And some of their branch executives were all NPP folks who had been put there, and moles who had been there and working for the NPP. And some of them actually went to the polling stations to then become agents for the NDC. And the NDC knows that in Ashanti region, even with all the things I've talked about, you will still need another layer to be certain that the guys that you're sending there will still do the job. That layer was body cam. If you switch it on, I can see what's happening in real time. So even when you're compromised,
you see,
it's difficult for you to sort of then play the ball for the opponent that compromised you. That was a very effective way of policing the poll. That, of course, we're seeing the outcome here.
We had said that, I had said that whichever party needed this election the most was going to win it.
Oh, how come they lost?
Yeah, in fact, I was coming to Central Region. I'll come there. I'll come Central Region. There's a whole lot of interesting...
Whoever needed...
In Central Region.
Whichever party needed this election the most was going to win it.
Yeah.
And the NDC needed it. And because the NPP had underperformed economically, and the arrogance of power was also there, contrary to what the NPP thought they had over the NDC, they didn't. Because the government thought they had funds available.
That's true.
But you had persons within the private sector, some of whom were even NPP members, angry with how the government was running the country, now decided they're going to teach their own party a lesson.
True.
So they were sending money to the NDC, and they were supporting the NDC campaign. All they wanted was a change in government. And there were a lot of people who just wanted things to change. I mean, what you've seen is Ghanaians saying, we've had enough, okay? And we're going to send a signal to the political elite that never again, except that politicians, they never learn their lessons.
But to Prof's point, though, which is, isn't this also because of a superior strategy by the... I mean, we've analyzed the Ghanaian part, the NPP part, but there's a place also for the NDC strategy.
The NDC had a superior strategy on election day. They had a superior strategy.
But what about leading into the election?
But even pre-election, the way they train their polling agents, taking them to the pink sheet, what you should do, what you shouldn't. So I think they had prepared all this one.
No, they had prepared, but leading into the election, both campaigned. I think the NDC strategy was a superior one on election day because what their concerns have been in the past was collation of their results. And so all they did was to have a superior strategy. As for the campaigning, pre-election day, the NPP had campaigned. We can now begin to, disaggregate the campaigning, how they went about the individual campaigns. And then we'll look at it and say, for instance, so you asked the question, what was Dr. Bamiye's key campaign messages? What did he spend more time doing? Did the meet and greet actually do anything? So there's a lot of meet and greet.
But let me ask Prof a question. Prof, what's your own assessment of that? The campaigning leading into election day. Do you think that the NDC had a superior campaign strategy?
I think they all campaigned the same level. But I believe the way the NDC had prepared, knowing all the challenges that they faced 2016 and 2020. And they were being taunted by the NPP that you can't even collate. You don't have the pink sheet. So I think they were very prepared from the word go. But I think they all campaigned the same level. If you look at the way Dr. Mahmoud Bamiya was crisscrossing the country, he actually campaigned very well. They all did.
Like our opposition leader.
Honestly, they all did.
No, but see, Evans, quickly. Watch the NPP campaign of 2024. Compare it to the NDC's campaign of 2016. And juxtapose that with the NPP's campaign of 2008. There are too many similarities.
True.
Which are?
First of all, it looked like a partying. A lot of the campaign looked like a party.
And they kept telling them that this, go and bring that, I like the musician, Kim Paluta. On every platform. People are hungry, seriously, with the economic difficulties. Yeah. You think that you can convert it into partying, and I'll forget all my words all of a sudden.
The Youth Connect was not supposed to be a thing that you go, yes, you're addressing, you're talking to them, but while it is important that, you need to show them that you identify with them and all of that, at some point, it was looking like a party.
True.
Okay, so...
And which videos were even shown from?
We're shown videos where the Vice President was dancing.
Yeah.
You see? So, I now would agree with those who even will say that pre-election day, the NDC campaigned better than the NPP. Look.
The
messaging, apart from the 24-hour economy, the NDC's abolishing of taxes resonated more than the NPP's because the NPP are in government.
Yeah.
And they kept reminding you, if you want to,
why don't you
do it right now? Do it right now. Do it right now. The NPP's
even an additional point, you recall I gleaned the adverts that they were putting up.
Yeah.
NPP had adverts, NDC had adverts. But NPP went back to all adverts on free SHS. Check. Almost 60% of the adverts that people was putting up was still on free SHS.
Yeah.
Almost as if that single policy was supposed to be the election winner from 2016, 2020, and 2024. This same free SHS, if I check, oh, he will oppose to it. The free SHS has done that for me. And all of those emotional ones, which got me sometimes about people saying, I will never become an engineer without free SHS, and all of that. Those were wonderful. But what does it say about what's happening currently? And again, I think the NPP, to a very large extent, dismissed these economic problems and the hunger that people were talking about. When they said, oh, it's about the economy, two things have always stood out. Inflation, exchange rates. There's something that Statistical Service did that government should have learned from very well. Apart from breaking down properly to the regions to tell you the differences in the inflationary rates, they told you which products were driving the highest inflation. Tell me, what was government's response to that? And this has been happening for almost 2 years.
Nothing.
With high levels. So you know where the inflation is coming from massively. Say on transportation, what was government's response? It was only a couple of weeks ago, or barely 2 weeks ago, that we got some electric buses, 100 of them. Then I asked the question, how does 100 electric buses reducing the cost of transporting anybody from Tema to Accra? I hope you get my point. And yet, these things were not responded to. They were being made to look like, oh, Accra people had a problem with everything. And that people in some hometowns, in my hometown, were not people affected by inflation, were not affected by exchange rate, and everything connected back. But so, it's the same place we're seeing kinky, ball of kinky, moving from what was supposed to be 2 cedi to 5 cedi within a period. And we kept on having the conversation to the extent that they call it shrinkflation. It has become a smaller ball. And those conversations were being had in this country. Government's response was not that, oh, we are giving them more. The minister was challenging whether or not it's indeed 5 cedi.
Yeah, that denial.
Yes, Evans, and this is the other point. So you see, while people were going through all these problems, and you go on a campaign platform, you're dancing. You're dancing. Sometimes you actually provoke the people the more. Because people were going through problems. Within the public sector, people could go there and go and ask for salary increases because they would threaten strike actions. But how many people within the private sector could have salary increases over the period? Because your bosses, the company is struggling.
Yeah, and another thing that, for me, the battle around who has the most effective strategy was waged around was which of these two parties was successful in linking the candidate on the ballot to the one, if you're Bawumia, to the current state of the economy and blaming him for it. And if you are the NPP, trying to remind us of how John Mahama also ran down the economy. So this was a battle. The NPP had to roll out a strategy to remind us that John Mahama had been there before.
True.
And was also responsible for some level of pain in 2016, or the lead up to 2016. But the NDC was also tasked with the mandate, in terms of as far as strategy is concerned, was linking Bawumia to the current economic crisis. Bawumia was doing everything he could to sort of separate himself
from the government.
And so he put out policies that were opposed dramatically in some cases to what he was currently superintending as the chair of the economic management team, as a vice president. And I think that's where the NDC had the advantage. Because if you are, and again, it says, Fasiani Mami, I'm just a vice president. I'm not the president. I am the driver's mate. The NDC then went out with a narrative that you are in a vehicle with the driver. And the driver, you are as guilty as the driver.
And you claim you have superior ideas. Bold solutions.
And you see, there was a contradiction in terms in Bawumia's strategy. Bawumia's key message was that I am the most effective vice president in our history. If you say that, then you actually are telling me...
With 33 policies.
Exactly. If you're telling me that, then you have to tell me that whatever outcomes I'm seeing the government deliver...
Both positive and
negative, then you are exactly also very responsible. If he was quiet on that and had played the ball like Mr. Acquah or the other vice president who were invisible, then you could say, but have you heard me? But the man was actually selling us a story that says, I am responsible for a lot in this government. And in fact, he was telling us that all the good things you see are mine. But when it comes to the negatives, it's somebody else. And NDC were very clear. And they went back to all his messages.
Yes.
Started playing it back. Started playing it. And they play it and they leave it and they say, and it spoke to the current realities of people.
And asked you to think.
And think.
And the worst mistake he made was when he said, if I do it now and I win, what will I do?
And it sounds like on a lighter note, but it became a very big issue.
Exactly.
I met a top NPP man who said that was so unnecessary.
Which one?
If I do everything now. It was supposed to be a joke, but that was unnecessary. And he said that was a mistake. But I asked him, but you are a senior man. Why are you not so involved in the campaign? You're supposed to be part of the campaign. He said, we are, some of us are at the background, we are monitoring the young ones, we are advising them. Well, the point is that, and Raymond, if you remember, we said this thing at the point that Dr. Bawumia's approach, and Evans, you've talked about it, just to expand it a little bit, approach of always taking credit for all the good things of the Akufo-Addo administration and distancing himself from all the bad things.
Every bad thing was going
to backfire.
Yeah.
Because consistently, and we had said you needed to be careful how you do that. But of course, let it also be said, this is a verdict on President Akufo-Addo's performance as President of the Republic of Ghana.
It is.
It's a verdict on his performance.
And that is where, in terms of strategy, I was making the point that the NDC was more effective linking Bawumia to those failures.
Yes.
But to counter that, the NPP had to be effective in getting us to remember John Mahama's failings when he was a minister.
But even where the people say that's the reason why they voted
Exactly.
Exactly.
But another challenge in the face was that it had been 8 years since the man was in office.
And you're still blaming him.
Evans, you're making reference to John Mahama, the man you say is corrupt, and his worst performance, his worst corruption rating is your best.
True.
Yeah.
And for 8 years in office.
Yes. 8 years.
For 8 years in office,
John Mahama's worst performance was President Akufo-Addo's best performance.
Yeah.
But you see, the other point is that, and we've said this, and I've said this before, in all the analysis I've done about elections, after 8 years, the propaganda of the past disappears.
It doesn't wash it.
It doesn't wash it.
It was very difficult.
So, and you see, and this is the other thing. Even some of the adverts of the NPP, we can all see. Then you come and tell us a different thing. But this is the other part. You see, the Nkokon Kitinkiti thing that we're talking about. And I made a point when you asked, because if you came to me and gave me, piglets, I'll take them.
Imagine.
I'll take them.
Imagine what it takes
because you see, if you gave me piglets, I'll take them. Because while I'd have to, for instance, go cross this thing, wait for 3 months, almost 4 months, if you give me piglets, I'll take them.
But you know the spin that Bawumia was putting on that was actually a spin in reference to the Akonfem flying to Burkina Faso.
You see, what they didn't get.
But I'm coming to a point. It speaks to the point I was making. Their strategy was to try and link JM to his past and remind us. So this Akonfem flight, which was a very effective tool in the lead up to 2016, it was very effective. He wanted to rehash and bring it back. And so the rehash and the remix of it was like Akokon Kitin. But you're right, it didn't resonate.
No.
Because what is Akokon Kitin? Because if you said, for example, now in the campaign, that, which was the line they used the last time, that they, what do you call them? The birds.
Guinea fowls.
The guinea fowls, of course, flew to, people don't remember the details of that. You don't remember the details of that.
They don't even care.
Exactly. People don't actually even care. So he was saying that, but the vast majority of people couldn't put in the context of what really he was talking about in 2016, which at the time, it was a corruption-related issue. Jeddah Sada, exactly. Spent loads of money. If you didn't link it to the context, that context was missing. In other words, you're making fun of the farmer who, when he gets those in Kitten will mean the world to him.
So let me tell you
something. At a time that feed is expensive.
Yeah.
At a time that getting those chicks is also very expensive.
When a poultry industry had been destroyed.
Yes.
See,
you're not telling them that your alternative proposal for development
Raymond,
is this or that.
Day-old chicks cost more than 20 analyses. One. It costs more than 20.
Guys, there's something I need to do because I've just been told that Wale Wale is in.
Okay.
And Wale Wale is important, obviously, because this is the home constituency of Bawumia. And Prof, I want to bring you in here when I pull this up. And this is the Northeast region. And this is Wale Wale. So it's blue. So it's good news. It's good news, at least at the Wale Wale constituency in 2024, when it comes to the parliamentary, the NPP candidate there had won. And this candidate himself, we know the controversy around the contest that went in there internally. But the presidential is where I want to focus. And then I'll come to Prof to give me a sense of what you make of this. And I hope we have the presidential. We do. So this is Dr. Bawumia's home constituency. This here is Dr. Bawumia coming in with 41,273 votes in his home constituency. And I'm going to circle that for you, for those of you watching us on television. But if you're on the radio, Bawumia wins his home constituency with 41,273. That is 61.9%. John Dramani Mahama comes in with 24,673. That is 37%. It doesn't make too much sense until you begin to put in the context of 2020. Has he, increased his votes, or is it reducing the votes? If you look at what is happening across the country, the expectation is that it should drop, right? From what Nanado got till now. If he improves it, that would be actually a very interesting point. But let's look at what really happened. And I'm going to hold that Wale Wale here. And I'm going to come to presidential 2020.
He improves.
He's improved. He's improved the actual votes there.
He improves,
significantly.
Well.
So in 2020, Nanado came in with 32,972. Now he is at 41,000.
Except that turnout was lower.
Yes. Turnout then in 2020 was 85.5%. 85.5% was huge.
True.
It's way above the national average.
Let's look at the turnout for this year. Let's look at the turnout for this year.
The turnout for this year
70 something.
Is 78. It's still high though, because again, across the country it's going to be higher than the national average.
So you can see that people turned out to vote for him, Dr. Bawumia.
Yeah.
In his hometown.
In his hometown.
Yeah.
But what does it say, Prof?
So I think basically it's all about the level of campaign that they mounted there and the controversy that surrounded that particular seat. So it actually gave them a lot of attention. And the people were very loud. All the NPP guys were there and said, this is the home ground of our candidate. Even if he's losing everywhere, he has to win here.
Yeah.
You don't have to disappoint him. So you have to lead the charge for the rest of the country to vote for them. So there was a lot of campaign there. There was, in spite of all the troubles, they had to go and find a way to forge unity between the candidate who has lost, Bawumia's sister, and then Bawumia's special aide, Kabiru. So it was a very tight thing. But they were able to preach unity. They were able to get people that they had expected to speak to them. And they were able to do a lot of prompting on the election day. So I think, notwithstanding the fact that the voter turnout was very low compared to the previous elections, you still see that Bawumia has been able to do. I think it's about 10% improvement from what Nanado did. And not just there. If you look at his performance across almost the 57 constituencies in the 5 northern regions, he has improved a little bit compared to what Akufo-Addo got in 2020. Even though in most of them, Mahama were able to win at the national level. So I think it was just a good support that they had.
But except that the NDC's margin of victory in these regions is more. For instance, in the northern region, is more than it was in 2020. And that's an indication that he is underperformed compared to Akufo-Addo.
In Wale Wale, there was a fear, and it was the reason they had to bring in Tia Kabiru Mahama. There was a fear that the NPP could lose the parliamentary elections.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
In fact, there was a fear.
2016,
Yeah.
2020.
In fact, there was a fear that something drastic had to be done.
But Bawumia performed better than him.
Yes, and it required changing candidates. So the fear was that even though they were so sure presidential were going to win, imagine NPP losing the parliamentary in the hometown of the candidates.
Where the president, the flag bearer votes.
So that's what brought in what they call it, the understanding. And that's 51%. The difference was less than just 2,400, right?
It's actually very interesting that Tia Kabiru did better than Zura in the last elections.
Fact, the fear was that if Zura had repeated, there would have been a problem.
Yes. That's
why there was that stranger fight for it. She disputed that. In fact, she said if the same systems were in place and proper things were done, and as a strong leader, should continue. But finally, you know, that election, they reran it after the court declared it.
Yeah.
Then they didn't conclude it because ballot papers were taken away.
Yeah.
Until finally, she backed down and he had to continue with the
Stay with me. I want to show you something that's happening at the residence of the president-elect. And that there is the residence of the president-elect. And this shot is a shot of John Dramani Mahama's entire family, seated, all dressed in white. Dressed in white, waiting for the man himself to come out, we believe in his own white attire, and they will drive to the campaign office where we're expecting that he will be addressing the nation post the declaration of the official results by the Electoral Commission chairperson. And from what I'm told in my ear, while I'm doing this, the television they have on is us.
Why didn't that?
The television they have
Prof
on.
was just whispering that.
That they are watching you.
Yes.
The television they have on is us. And so, yes, I want to wave at them. If they can wave back, then we know they're indeed watching us.
I'm not hearing.
But they can see that we are waving at them. Yes, somebody's trying to respond. Yes, we're trying to wave at you. And that is the president-elect and his family. Well, he's not there himself, but he will join a pretty shot. Oh, he's there. This side of
I
can see that. I can see that we were giving you a wave, president-elect. Oh, he's there. You know, the distance of the monitor for me is one that I'm struggling to see. But that's him and a wife seated, watching all this unfold. And congratulations, I guess. Yeah. I wouldn't have him on the phone, so I guess this is the closest we can get. Closest we can get to saying yes. Congratulations to him and the family. And I remember a similar shot I believe it was in 2016, was it? When Akufo-Addo and his family were also in the room watching JoyNews and jubilating. But this is a real beautiful shot of John Dramani Mahama and the entire family seated there. That's the top right corner there of the screen, watching the JoyNews channel, waiting finally for him to now mount that stage and deliver his acceptance speech to the rest of the country. It's going to be a big moment for him. And that speech is one that I'm pretty sure his speech writers either have finished writing or possibly put in the final touches to. But this is a very emotional moment, I believe, for a lot of people who will be watching this right now, having gone out to vote for him. There's a video I saw of a man who, before he cast his ballot, was screaming at the ballot paper, determined to punish the NPP. I don't know if anybody has seen it. It's quite a viral video. And then he finally goes in there. He actually hops, jumps, and he takes his phone. A police officer tries to get a phone, and he talks them off, goes in there, and does the voting. And something he said that was interesting. We're talking about the price of soap. And so the price of soap is now 9 cedis. And for him, that is why he was going to vote for John Dramani Mahama, right? And we're delighted that we can bring you these shots live from the residence of the president-elect. And Prof, I wanted to weigh in on that just before we go into the additional specifics. There's a scene of the entire family sitting there and waiting. What are they waiting for, I guess is the question. They're waiting for Jim Mensah, I believe.
Of course, you need the official announcement.
You know the announcement. But the official announcement. Told us 4:30.
They were told us 4:30. Yes.
Now it's past 4:30.
Yes.
It's almost 5:30.
Now people will now become anxious.
Yeah.
You told us 4:30. You had a long time.
You know, when they were saying 4:30, I cringed a bit.
Oh,
because often in these matters, knowing the EC's own,
But Evans,
it can be a bit of
everything
challenging.
has come now.
No, but you know, you have to, and also, I mean, you have to give Jim Mensah some credit. Also because of the lessons of 2020.
True.
And the challenges in the results, they announced that they had to change a few things.
True.
You need to be absolutely sure. Yes, you said 4:30, but if you are not absolutely sure, I'd rather you wait until you are.
At least update us.
No,
tell us at
but
4:30.
of course.
We need 2 more hours. Tell us at 4:30. We'll do it now at
But
7 o'clock. Because John Dramani Mahama announced 7 o'clock. So if by 7 o'clock you are not finished with your declaration, what do you expect him to say?
At least now, the evidence you have and some of the regional statement of poll doesn't include all constituencies. So that in itself would have been something you say, but you said you're doing the regional coalition center but you have indicated you're coming up because you have them. So it means that you're coming ahead, that based on this number of constituencies that I have, based on this number that I have, from the Greater Accra region minus these constituencies, it is statistically impossible. So you're going ahead to declare. When you declare, the figures, you put the figures out, but the official figures will come subsequently.
Are we live at is this National Coalition Center?
Yeah, there's the National Coalition Center you see in your top left corner from the EC's headquarters.
It means that the results are being certified by Omane Boama now.
Signing.
Yes, he's signing.
And let's look, we can focus on that shot for a second because that in itself tells a story. That's a shot there of Dr. Omane Boama, who we believe is now scrutinizing before he signs, or he may have done it already and just simply appending his signature to that particular document. And he is the party's director of elections.
Yes.
And he had supervised the entire process leading to now. He's looking at it, he's signing. And here's the beauty of this. Whilst we show this on television, John Dramani Mahama is seated in the hall of his residence and is watching, confidently knowing that this is being signed and finally that will be declared. If he wasn't sure and he possibly can't get on the phone to check, but I'm waiting to go and deliver my acceptance speech. What is happening? Where he can watch it on JoyNews and know that the man he trusted to do this. And let's give Omane Boama some credit too.
Yeah.
It takes a man of steel to still accept that responsibility to put in place and run the elections, especially the election day architecture for the coalition. When for 2 consecutive elections, he has been in charge of the process, and the process had not gone as well as everybody else had expected within the NDC. And anybody remember, he was one of the most vilified within the NDC itself.
Yeah. True.
He was attacked. People were questioning John Mahama, why do you keep trusting this gentleman to handle a matter that clearly he's shown that he could not manage?
And he was director of elections. Not somehow difficulties with that.
Yeah, with that. Clearly, JM saw something in him. The law of second chances, right? Even this is a third chance. But he pulled it off. The lessons...
There were NDC people on social media who were telling him that they will not accept any incompetence, any difficulty, any lackadaisical attitude when it comes to the collation of results. Indeed, they were telling them that that excuse and the very actions that they complained of in 2016 and 2020 cannot be repeated this time around. Some of them were very vociferous on that. They said there were no second chances in this case.
And he's done now. I believe he's done signing. He's taken his seat, and another of the representatives of the other parties are also now looking at the document. And this is the official declaration sheet that all the party reps at the National Coalition Center must sign before Jim Mensah can declare it. As we've always said, if you refuse to sign, it doesn't invalidate the results. Jim Mensah can still go ahead and do it, but it is always better when it's all signed and checked before it goes. But back to the point, and probably I want to bring it back in. Just a comment on Dr. Omane Boama and JM's confidence that he reposed the name, in spite of the challenges that, of course, he's had with election day architecture and machinery that, of course, he needed. because you cannot fly blind on election day. And then the challenges with putting your own pink sheets together, transmitting it to your own office and all. JM stuck with him, and he's repaid that faith. That loyalty has been repaid.
Yeah, so I think it's about learning the mistakes that you have made in your attempt to succeed. So it's often said that those who have succeeded might have failed at a point in their lives. So he knew most of the challenges that the party faced in 2016 and 2020 and might have learned a lot of lessons from it. So learning from the lessons of the past gave him the kind of superior strategy that he was able to put together with the NDC team. But also, JM himself has been given a second chance in his party to lead. So it has to do with the level of confidence that you have in somebody's ability to deliver. No matter the level of defeat that they had in 2016 and 2020, they still believe that he's the best person to deliver victory for the party. And he also believe that given the kind of lessons and experiences that Dr. Manibu Ama might have gone through, he's better placed to understand the electoral dynamics and the challenges of the NDC as a party, and to be able to come together with a strategy that is superior and that can defeat that of the NDC. So I think it's about the second chances, but also given the fact that you learn from your own mistakes, and based on the mistakes that you have made in the past, you should be able to correct them when you are given the third opportunity.
Yeah,
and I think he didn't disappoint.
He did not disappoint. And we've said, in terms of the strategy and whose was superior, clearly his was superior in terms of the election day strategy that they deployed. And that purely is why we've seen this. And when they put out shortly after, and they were the first to share their results with everybody else. And John Dramani Mahama himself went there with him. You see him seated, showing him, you know, what the picture is across the country. It's panning out exactly the way the coalition. Yes, you had this smile, broad smile on your face.
You know, it was interesting, right? When the NPP's director of campaign communications spoke for the first time in 2020, the NPP was telling us the results just like the NDC is doing this time around. But the NPP said, we're waiting for the EC. They know they are winning. What's the name? Miracles.
Miracles.
Yeah, we know we are winning, but we are waiting for the EC. We are a responsible party. We will not go ahead of the Electoral Commission, which was in direct contrast to what happened in the year 2020. Indeed, in the year 2020, by early morning, the NPP had concluded, and we were talking about the difficulties they had with parliamentary. I hope you get the point. Yeah. In fact, they have told everybody that that's where the slight challenge may be, and so they are going ahead with that. But this year, I've not seen a single screenshot from the collation center of the NPP.
I guess now we know why.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, they saw this very early.
Certainly.
Very, very early.
Certainly.
And they abandoned the press center where they were supposed to be doing the press conferences.
The communications place.
So when they started playing, I remember what happened at Asin North by-election. I think the same strategy, though they'll be quiet, they won't share the results they have, they are waiting for the EC. I think the same tactics was being played at the national level. Then I knew that it wasn't
going well.
So definitely, you see it in their face, obviously. And even the pages that you have people who are NDC and NPP members, the kind of jokes and arguments that they put out there. So those are just informal ways to understand that things wasn't going well. And they had also collated, just like the NDC. But because it wasn't good, they were very quiet about it.
Yeah, and if you're just joining us, there are two shots on your screen you should be paying attention to. Forget about us. Just look at your top left, top right. Top right corner, you see John Dramani Mahama and his entire family seated there, and they're waiting for, and that's the shot there I'm talking about, waiting for Jean Mensah to officially declare the results, and we know what the results will be already. You know that the Vice President's already conceded defeat, but they're waiting formally for that formal declaration. That's what the Constitution says must happen before you can now begin to call yourself formally the president-elect. But of course, once the other side have conceded, you don't have to wait anymore. But the formal thing must happen. It's just a formality that they are waiting for. Right after this, they will be, the former president, who is now the president-elect, will be heading to the podium that has already been set up and will be delivering an acceptance speech. We expect this to be one very important one indeed. He's going to be delivering two speeches in the next, over a month. This and then his inaugural speech.